the hero of time, Anakin Redfield was rooted on the spot, completely speechless and out of his wits as he witnessed Khan return from the brink of death, but also become a completely different person. Not only you, but he also returned in time. This shouldn't be possible at all, he said as he looked at the floating specter of the black dragon around Khan. You did not have the spell or the required materials to come back in time, exclaimed Anakin, his eyes still terrified while his body shivered. My, awfully curious now, are we? Spoke the older and the future Khan. Well, since you aided in my travel back in time, I should tell you this much at least, he said and continued. Remember how you bragged about having an ace under your sleeve right when I defeated you? Your biggest mistake was telling me about the forbidden spell given to you by the god of time and saying to my face about how using your own soul as a sacrifice, you were going back in time to kill me. Revealed the future Khan. What you didn't know is that I also had the ability to read memories of the dead. It was something I never revealed to anyone, and it helped me know the spell God of Time gave you. He spoke confidently. And after knowing it, I talked with the God of Darkness and told him what you said before dying. As you know, the third aspect of reality that came into existence in Vantria after space and time was death, aka the God of Darkness himself. So he told me a method to go back in time before you kill me and change the timeline completely where you have all the advantages in the war against the demon god. He iterated in a stern voice. The next, it was the dragon hovering around Khan who spoke. Did you forget who I am, you ignorant child? He questioned in an admonishing tone. Unlike you, Khan could not use his soul as a sacrifice to go back in time since he wasn't the hero of time. However, he had me, declared the dragon in a majestic tone. It was me who used my knowledge and sealed both of us in a space that could not be affected by the laws of time. And do you know the main ingredient we used for the spell to work? He spoke in a coy tone. It was your own core, revealed the dragon as both he and Khan smirked shamelessly. God of Darkness told us about the transcendent rune of reminiscence, and I, using my mastery of the dimensional law, carried both of us back in time by sealing ourselves in that rune. He revealed an event of the future. And God of Darkness is one of the only few gods such as God of Space and God of Time who can read and detect the change in timeline much before the other gods. So he used his powers to send the rune back in time as well, said the dragon in a domineering tone. Then Khan continued in a firm voice. I did not know exactly when you were going to go back in time. I didn't even know much about you to begin with. That's why the only way I could stop all this was going back to my own beginning, since it was the only constant factor no matter which time in the past you went to. All this time, I have been watching this another version of me while being sealed inside the transcendent rune of reminiscence on his back. And the only way for me to get unsealed was being touched by you, the original bearer of the spell, since your soul signature was the only thing that could activate the spell by God of Time. So ironically, it was you who brought me back in this timeline, declared Khan. I did what? Does it mean you wouldn't have been able to return had I not targeted you in the first place? What if someone else killed you? You would be dead for real, asked the hero of time, his heart palpitating in anticipation. Correct. And just like the last time, it was your arrogance and superiority complex that brought forth your doom, Gideon. Spoke the future Khan with a benign smile. See, you and I are not so different. You're what I call a hero regressed in time. Spoke Khan and continued in a smug voice. Me, on the other hand, I regressed myself. The surroundings turned silent as the hero of time absorbed the fact that it was his own ignorance and overconfidence that allowed the future Khan to come back in time just like him. But unlike him, Khan regressed himself in a fashion and time of his choosing, something that even he, the hero of time, could not do. Now, did you forget what I told you last time, Gideon? Whether I'm surrounded by millions of strong enemies or facing a single opponent, no matter the time or the place, I'm not in danger. Spoke future Khan and declared in a kingly voice, I'm the danger. Minutes passed after Anakin aka Gideon, the hero of time, finally grasped the surprise and accepted the reality in front of him. that his archnemesis aka the Hero of Darkness came back in time by using Anakin's own core and the spell given by the God of Time, all because of his stupidity. This doesn't change anything. Everything will go the way I planned as long as I kill you in this timeline, declared Anakin, his heart burning with a blazing flame of vengeance. Domain of chronokinesis, he spoke, and soon, the surroundings 35 kilometers region of space was covered in a purple barrier. However, unlike the current Khan who instantly died to it, the future Khan looked unfazed and unaffected. Hey, Khan 2.0. I know you're listening from inside, so let me show you how to deal with abilities and domains related to time. He spoke to an entity aka the Khan of the current timeline who was now in the back seat. The reason they are so overpowered is because they can mess with one's perception of time and affect the flow of time of the outside world in a set amount of area. And because the mind and the body are perceiving time differently, you can't even react properly or see how the enemy attacked or even killed you. He spoke but received no response. You did not see him activating his domain of chronokinesis, right? It's because he activated it at a different time in this case. He activated it in the future a dozen minutes later, and unlike your knowledge of time, based on how linear it is on Earth, you did not see his domain affecting the past where you hadn't seen him activate it yet. He explained in details. His divine weapon, the finality of time, freezes the world in a fixed moment, and the world energy and the mana present at that moment can continue to exist without the laws of reality affecting them. As long as his divine weapon is active, the laws of Babylon and the authority of gods, which suppresses everyone to a semi-saint, are no longer effective, as the world is no longer following the laws of reality in this indefinitely frozen time. That is why both of you can fight as saints, he informed. But because his domain of chronokinesis is also affecting and messing with the flow of time, I can move irrespective of his divine weapon's powers. And Gideon needs to use it to move himself, since his divine weapon also affects him to a degree. Everything comes at a cost, so he has no choice but to let me move as well inside his domain. He iterated and kept on explaining. And that's where you can use its weakness. You see, the most powerful weapon against time is space. Since you have already achieved the third enlightenment in the space law in this timeline, you know that true space is independent of time, mass, and any form of energy. Everything is just temporarily occupying it, no matter how long that temporary time is. So to break the effects of any divine ability related to time or a domain that functions on laws of time, the most effective way is to break the space itself. Like this, declared the future Khan, and in the next moment, snap, shatter. He snapped his fingers and the space shattered in the 30-kilometer radius. Crumble. Whether it was the fabric of reality in the real world or the black and white world of true dimension where time was 10 times slower, both planes of space and reality that coexisted together shattered, overlapping each other and creating an unbelievable sight of billions of cracks in reality. Soon, the flow of time started moving again, and the frozen battlefield within Anakin's domain also became free like before. Don't be so full of yourself, Salvatore. This time, I will definitely kill you, bellowed Anakin in rage, his vengeful eyes revealing his hatred. Do not talk about death in front of me, replied future Khan. Boom! He quickly activated war dominance and declared in a tyrannical voice, unless you've died 1,000,000 times. The battle was now on the verge of beginning as the Hero of Time declared his clear intentions to kill the future Khan. Do not talk about death in front of me, replied future Khan. Boom! He quickly activated war dominance and declared in a domineering voice, unless you've died 1,000,000 times. This overbearing and majestic declaration echoed in the dead and desolate battlefield filled with nothing but black soil, dead trees, and dark clouds in the sky. Cough. Thud. Anakin finally suffered through immense backlash and fell to the ground from the sky. What kind of power is that? Why is it similar to the one used by the hero of space? Asked Anakin in a terrified voice. It was the hero of space who told me how to deal with powers like yours. You remember him, right? The always calm guy who acted like he didn't care about anyone, but deep inside, he did. He was the kind who pretended to be hard and cold from the outside but was actually a softy and warm person from the inside. The world where I come from, we call people like him at Sundara. revealed Khan with a smirk as he hovered in the sky. I see. Never mind, no matter how much this timeline has divulged because of your intervention, it still won't change your fate this time, said the hero of time, and soon, he raised his spear-like scepter high. Domain of chronokinesis, first form, space-time intergrade, bellowed Anakin, and a golden shockwave resonated in the surroundings. Whoosh! Soon, millions of replicas of Hero of Time appeared on the ground and spread in a 30-kilometer radius. Although none of them were saints or even grandmasters for that matter. Just the sheer numbers alone were terrifying enough to be considered as a kingdom's army, especially when all of them were battle mages just like Anakin. Petty tricks? Scoffed Khan from the sky as he looked down upon this terrifying number. You can't win against me, Salvatore. I have an endless army of myself, proclaimed Anakin with a vicious smile. Khan on the other end smirked and replied, summoning different versions of you from different times of reality isn't a small feat. But it also weakens your overall mana and world energy since you have to share it with all of them as they're relying on you, the actual body present at this time. Besides, as far as an army is concerned, I've got one too. He declared the very next moment, Awaken! Boom! Khan's black and blue aura suddenly spread in the 40-kilometer radius against Gideon's copies that existed in different directions locations. Rumble! Both the sky and the ground shook as the entire domain created by the finality of time was now shaking and cracking. In the sky, thousands of flying monsters appeared from Khan's black and blue aura, each one adept in flight and having different species and sizes. Screech! They screeched and bellowed in their own way, sending shockwaves and strong gusts of wind on the battlefield. Crumble! The ground cracked open as soon, one after another, innumerable figures arose as if the gates of hell were opened. The source of this content is novel, ire.net. And now, millions of soldiers that included knights, mags, archers, spearmen, and healers added with rare classes also took a firm stand. Like an empire's army, they systematically positioned themselves in various battle formations and took a defensive stance as if it were a war between armies of rivaling nations. Roar! This wasn't the end to it either, as following them arose millions of monsters varying in sizes and species, making this war cry echo in this vast battlefield. Among these summoned monsters, more than 2,000 of them were already at High Lord rank, which was comparable to a peak Grandmaster. Hundreds of them also had abilities of both warriors of different class and monster species, since they were the amalgamations Khan created using the synthesis divine ability. If Anakin had millions of copies of himself by bending the flow of time, Khan's overall numbers were more than 5 million. What is this? You did not have such powers, spoke the true Anakin, completely gobsmacked. It's like you said, Gideon, you're not the only one cursed with knowledge, replied future Khan with a smug tone. Attack! He commanded his monster army. Bang! Clang! Thud! Clatter! Like a flurry of raging monsters and soldiers attacking fearlessly, the battle between Anakin's army of himself was annexed on all fronts. Regardless of how talented he was as a battle mage, with an overwhelming number of fearless monsters and an army of well-versed soldiers as well as flying monsters assaulting from the sky, the hero of time started suffering immense losses in mere minutes. This was the first time Khan used his entire army of summoned monsters in a large-scale battle. If this was a war against an enemy nation, it would turn into a one-sided massacre for the enemies. 1 hour later, the apparent result lay before Anakin's eyes as Khan's army of summoned entities completely slaughtered his own, and now, not a single copy of himself remained. The first form of his domain of chronokinesis, a form of power that could destroy an empire's army given the right conditions, was butchered to the last member by Khan's own army. After they got destroyed, Anakin was pushed to his limits. You bastard! What the hell was that? Why do you have the necromancy divine ability? He explained in disdain while barely gasping for breath. That's the neat part, Gideon. I don't, declared future Khan with a smug smile. Bullshit. Nothing can explain that army of monsters unless you've turned yourself into an elder lich. Rebuked Anakin and started another spell. But soon, the hero of time started casting a massive spell that covered the nearby 5 kilometers of ground. Khan just folded his arms and let him complete the spell as if he wasn't worried at all. Shwoom! One after another, a total of 11 magic circles arose from the ground, and soon, a massive surge of Saint pressure erupted. Boom! The entire surroundings trembled with shockwaves as familiar faces reappeared. The hero of time had resurrected his party members. And this time all of them were also proper saints. My. Using both finality of time and domain of chronokinesis just to bypass the laws of the world and resurrect your dead allies. You have become desperate, haven't you, Gideon? Khan mocked the hero of time. Do you see this, my other version? This is the type of battle where you use what you've been taught for the past year. So let me show you how to use your new powers and skills the best way so that when you are surrounded by these many enemies in the future, you will know how to deal with them effectively. He spoke. The dragon swirling around him nodded and disappeared into thin air. It's time to use what Master Romulus taught me, spoke Future Khan. He then called back all the summoned monsters and closed his eyes. Flashback. Back in the day when Romulus taught him 5 different skills that he created for Khan, the latter learned many skills. Harnessing conceptualization embodiment. In this skill, Khan was able to enter a battle mode where he could create monsters and imitate their movements and fighting styles. For example, he could turn into a giant basilisk made of pure world energy and fight like it, similar to how Rudra did. The reason why it was the 3rd technique Romulus taught Khan was because it was heavily dependent on the first 2 techniques. Khan needed to master harnessing to greatly saturate and stack world energy to a degree that even his simplest attack or skill would be 5 times more effective than its maximum potential. Conceptualization was needed to increase his mental fortitude and control over both world energy and elemental mastery. So he could summon these creatures and change their elements at will just like he did it with his weapons. Thanks to Vildred, Khan had 100% affinity to all elements in the world at this point. After learning the results, Romulus tweaked the technique to fit Khan and used a different approach for embodiment in a way that would best suit Khan. But what Khan didn't know was that his master wasn't just making random alternatives, but something even he himself as the main subject couldn't anticipate. And the biggest factor was Khan's bloodlines. Because Khan possessed multiple bloodlines and had some purity of high tier, Romulus created a technique that would help him utilize those bloodlines in this combat technique. Romulus said back then, there is a particular empire where their saints use a different but somewhat similar method of this combat technique. Since they can't turn into their primal forms like us true descendants and not everyone is a summoner class with mastery over various elements, what they do is use their own elemental affinity and world energy to materialize a spectral form. He revealed to Khan inside the training realm. They use their bloodline to shape that spectral form into a bestial form based on their bloodlines which are correlated to their ancestors and the monster species they are from. For example, a normal-looking human saint could use his wind elemental world energy and summon the form of a flying monster or a bird that his bloodline has traces of. By no means they're beastkins or true descendants. The bloodline itself is thinned into their lineage to the point that it doesn't even affect their auras or any physical features to make them look distinct from other humans. But by using this technique, they can harness that dormant bloodline temporarily to assume such forms and fight as if they were those monsters themselves. He explained solemnly. Like someone looks like a human but turns into a werewolf made of mana if he has the bloodline? Asked Khan, correct. But instead of turning into a monster themselves, they can use their world energy as a medium to bring out the latent bloodline and shape it to use it for combat. Iterated Romulus. I see. But how does it help me? Questioned Khan. To his query, Romulus replied in a menacing tone. Because especially in your case, it will completely turn the tide of the battle. Back to present. After reliving a memory of the past when Romulus had created 5 special techniques custom-made for Khan after considering all of his abilities, powers, and many other things, the future Khan decided to use them now that Hero of Time had miraculously resurrected his allies. Lord Anakin, what is this? I remember that I died, spoke Null Simbator. Yes, you did. He killed all of you and now I am forced to use my divine weapon and my domain just so I could resurrect all of you. You all no longer have your cores, and you will die again after I deactivate my domain and the divine weapon. I can't fight him in this state because I have to focus and provide all of you with my world energy," explained the hero of time to his deceased allies. "But this time, all of you have returned to your former state as saints and no longer are suppressed by the laws of Babylon. I am offering you all a final chance to kill the man who killed you and avenge yourselves with your own hands. That is the opportunity no one gets in their life," said Anakin with eyes full of conviction. As soon as he revealed what happened after Khan killed them in their semi-saint forms, all the members of the Hero of Time's party turned furious and targeted their gazes at Khan. But why does he look and feel different than before now? It's as if he has aged by a decade, and even the aura around him is far more majestic, and yet, it's also many times terrifying, as if he is a completely different person," spoke Jargos, the winged spearman. Khan, on the other side, summoned 2 new weapons no one had seen before. In his left hand appeared a 1-meter-tall large shield made of white bones with dwarven runes over it, and in the center was a black rose emblem. And in his right hand appeared a massive battle-axe with Nordic runes made from pure white fang that exuded a murderous aura of a predator. "Sigrun and Vidar, you are an idiot for not using such good weapons," spoke the future Khan, his words directed at current Khan. These were the names of the shield and the battle-axe respectively. Both of these weapons were made from Fenrir's fang given to Khan by Romulus. Khan in return made a few legendary rank weapons for his master in the past 10 months. He gave the rest to Romulus since he already had similar weapons made from the body of the guardian dragon. But he kept these 2 because he didn't have a proper shield and battle-axe even now. But even the 7 weapons he made took more than 10 months. If this was Throck Oakenshield, his blacksmithing master, he would have made at least 15 weapons and armor in the same amount of time. On top of it, Khan also had 3 gifts from deities of blacksmithing. This showed the clear difference between Throck's accumulated experience and Khan's cheat codes. He realized that he still had a long way to go. "Now, how do I get rid of these small fry quickly? It's not like I have a whole day here or time to dilly-dally," said Khan, and soon a smirk appeared on his face. "Let's use embodiment here. There's a reason why Master Romulus created this technique specifically for me," he said, and the very next moment, boom! A thunderous aura arose and sent shockwaves in the nearby 40 kilometers. The ground quaked and craters formed as if a meteorite had struck and caused earthquakes. Khan was now a legitimate 6th-stage saint, and against so many of these enemies, he was going to use the embodiment technique for the first time. While within that terrifying aura, he activated the Shura mode. A 500-meter-tall purple-colored warrior in a samurai armor, and Lucifer in his head appeared. The last time he took this form was when he fought Axel Lobthrox, the hero of fire, and this time he was many times stronger. However, his spectral warrior form of a human samurai soon started changing. Soon, his human face and claws turned to that of a wolf, and the skin and 2 horns appeared from the sides of his head, turning into that of a basilisk. Flap! Wiggle! In mere seconds, a 600-meter-long massive tail and 500-meter-wide wings of a dragon. And now, he had become a formidable 1-kilometer-tall being who had thousands of weapons including Lucifer, Gungnir, Beowulf, Sigrun, and Vidar. Along with them, millions of 10-meter-long arrows, swords, spears, tridents, and daggers also spread in both the ground and the sky. This was the result of Khan's intense training that made him pass out hundreds of times. Why? Because this form was created using 4 different bloodlines from Fenrir, Basilisk, Dragon, and Primordial Titan, the 4 bloodlines with the highest purity that Khan possessed. And the one to bind them together was the legendary rank Metamorphosis bloodline that worked in the background. So Khan was using 5 bloodlines at once. 10 minutes. That's how long this form will stay active. But it's more than enough for me to deal with all of them, he informed to the current Khan, because the first 4 bloodlines were extremely incompatible and could be considered rivals and hostile to each other. Similar to Khan's Azura mode, they were used forcibly for this battle mode, and it was creating a great burden on Khan's mind and body. But what did it yield as a result? That added to his already powerful strength, This was making Khan additionally 5 times stronger due to their effects, such as the dragon's strength, Fenrir's agility, Basilisk's defense, a titan's great regeneration and vitality, and lastly, his speed as a warrior. In simple words, although Khan was already on par with an intermediate 6th stage in terms of physical stats due to using Rathnar's method of raising his rank and Chamber of Exaltation despite being just a beginner in this rank, adding this mode temporarily made him into a beginner 7th stage saint for 10 minutes. And on top of it, Khan could use any element to create this body and change the said element at will. This was Romulus' technique called embodiment he devised for Khan considering all his potential, bloodlines, and elemental affinity. Something Khan could never have even imagined achieving based on his current knowledge and experience had it not been for his master. Good. Other than that spearman, there is no one else with light element. This time, I am not holding back, proclaimed Khan. Boom! Another surge of massive pitch-black aura arose and his saint pressure sent shivers in everyone's spines. See Khan 2.0. This is how you use the darkness element properly. Spoke the future Khan, and in the next moment, a tremendous change occurred. The previously purple body of the Shura mode started changing its color, and in mere moments, it solidified by 10 times as Khan turned this entire spectral body into a darkness elemental titanic figure. Unlike before, the body was now solid and completely visible just like Maximus Titanite form. On top of it, all of his weapons increased by 3 times in size and length. I call this form, spoke Khan as his bipedal monster form clad in samurai armor with thousands of weapons. Let it be bows, swords, halberds, or all forms of weapons he could think of suspended in the air. Apostle of War. The entire heroes' party, including the hero of time, stood stupefied as they could not believe their own eyes. You've gotta be shitting me. How the hell can he turn into such a monstrous creature while only being a human? Spoke Ariel, the priestess. Lord Anakin, this isn't what you told us about him. Even when we fought him as semi-saint, many of his powers were different than the ones you told us about. That's why he was able to kill us so swiftly by surprise. We fought an enemy we knew nothing about, bellowed Hank Primos, the blue beastkin. Even I have no idea what's happening now. This isn't the martial emperor I fought. Everything is very different about him now. Spoke Anakin, his face devoid of color as a cold sweat ran across his face. You lot should feel honored since it will be the moment when someone sees my new powers for the first time in this timeline. Spoke Khan with a cold and menacing look. Crackle. Shatter. A void crack formed in the middle of the sky far above them, and soon, a realm tear appeared. Shum. This newly formed realm tear suddenly started sucking in all the air around. We're not done yet, spoke Khan, and soon, he created a massive 500-meter wide sphere of pure darkness. Shoot. He shot it at the realm tear in mere seconds, and in the following moments, engulf. The entire massive sphere of darkness was engulfed by that realm tear. Rumble. However, what happened next was this realm tear in itself expanded with the aura of darkness as if the sphere it engulfed had completely assimilated and had become one with it. Whoosh. Soon, incomparably strong gusts of wind spread apart in 15 kilometers radius, and one after another, the massive landscape started crumbling, and the land, whether it was the soil, the dead trees, or even massive mountain peaks, started suspending in the air, unable to hold their ground regardless of their weight or composition. All the saints from the Hero of Time's party distanced themselves by a few kilometers in different directions just to avoid being sucked inside by this incredible force that somehow started sucking in their mana and world energy at the same time. Did he just create? Spoke Anakin with a bewildered countenance as his face turned white with fear. A black hole. The entire heroes' party stood rooted in their spots as they saw the unimaginable anomaly that Khan created out of nowhere in the middle of the sky. The future Khan had already used harnessing and conceptualization at peak mastery and turned into a formidable opponent who was as strong as a beginner 7th stage saint. But when he used the third technique called the embodiment, he successfully used his most powerful bloodlines and created his ultimate battle form that far exceeded the Shura mode created by the current timeline's Khan. But things didn't just end there, as he created a black hole in the sky that not only sucked all the objects in the nearby 15 kilometers radius but also devoured the mana and world energy of the Hero of Time's resurrected party members, forcing them to retreat in a different direction. This is how you efficiently use the fourth technique. World of Gluttony. Spoke the future Khan to the current Khan. This one is made by merging the Dimensional Void, Energy Plunderer, the Gravity Law skills you received from Skoll and Hattie, and the laws of the true dimension. It's not the shabby space door you created while training under Master Romulus. I based it on Godbeast Fenrir's power called the World Devourer. He iterated. And this isn't a skill created by the synthesis divine ability or merging different ones through the system. Also, this is a unique power exclusive to only us. He showed his expertise to the current Khan. I call it the Black Sun, declared the future Khan to everyone. A sun that engulfs all. The darkness that devours the world around it. The more it eats, the bigger it gets. And the biggest catalyst that increases its range and suction power is the world energy from saints and legendary or mythical rank monsters. He declared to the onlookers who saw it from afar and stated in a vicious tone, whether it is a magic spell, an attack skill, or even a lethal blow from a divine weapon, there is no exception. Your entire existence is food for my Black Sunday, declared Khan with a menacing smile. Shivers ran across everyone's body because they too felt their entire being nearly sucked in by this black sun. In a large-scale battlefield between empires with hundreds of saints, if someone used this skill during battle, the devastation and loss of life it could cause would be in millions as time went on. And also, the mighty saints of these enemy empires couldn't do anything to even attack it, since their powerful attacks and spells would only be engulfed and help it become bigger and stronger. In every sense, the future Khan had created a man-made black hole in this battlefield. What they didn't know was that among the 5 techniques taught to Khan by Romulus, this was only the 4th one. The reason I used this skill first is to push everyone away and hinder their movements. Now, all of them are forced to retreat in different directions, and as I attack them, they won't be able to move freely due to the fear of being devoured by the Black Sun. Explained the future Khan. Martial Emperor. What is this? Why do you have powers that you previously didn't have in the original timeline? I can see that this is similar to the Abyss Devourer skill you used in our battle, but why do I sense Space Law, the Gravity Law, and the True Dimension from it? Asked Anakin, trying to grasp the situation. Sheesh. As if I'm going to tell you my evil master plan just because you asked nicely. What do you take me for, a third-rate novel antagonist who dies in 3 chapters? Replied Khan sarcastically. Let's end this quickly. Spoke the gigantic Khan in Apostle of War mode. Flap. Despite being a ginormous 1-kilometer-tall being and 200-meter-wide humanoid being with such massive wings and tails, Khan disappeared and covered the distance of 8 kilometers in a single second with a single flap of his wings. What? How are you so fast? Spoke Jargon Alteos, the winged spearman. Sorry, nothing personal. You have the light element, so I have to kill you first. Spoke Khan. Whoosh. However, instead of facing this titanic Khan with the wolf's head, Jargon decided to run away. Smart. But I'm not your responsibilities that you could run from, said the Khan, and soon he bashed the massive Vidar battleaxe on his shield called Sig-Run. The immense darkness and the wrathful power released from Vidar, which was now 500 meters long, was absorbed by Sig-Run, the shield made from Godbeast Fenrir's bones. In mere seconds, not only did the shield absorb it, but also amplified it by 5 times. The ginormous Khan then targeted the shield at Jargon, who was a 4th-stage saint. Shoot! A massive 100-meter-wide laser beam made of pure and incomprehensibly destructive darkness shot and hit the saint before he even crossed 8 kilometers of distance in the open sky. Bang! The result was there weren't even ashes left after the laser beam hit Jargon. It was barely a minute since Khan took the Apostle of War form and already killed a 4th-stage saint in a single move. Swoosh! Next, his target was Hank Primos, the beast man who could turn into a massive ox-like creature. Boom! And just like the last time, Hank opted to turn into his monster form, which was now a 500-meter-tall creature. far deadlier and humongous as lightning ran amok his body. Growl! He growled at Khan, whose eyes glowed red in this black titanic form made of darkness. A mere forest beast dared to look the sovereign of monsters in the eyes. Spoke Khan with a wrathful tone. Dragon's sovereignty, he shouted. Boom! An insurmountable oppressive aura spread in the nearby 10 kilometers as Khan, for the first time, used the dragon's sovereignty skill in a battle against saints. Hank Primos, a 5th stage saint who could destroy cities in minutes with his monstrous charge alone, was now suddenly frozen in his steps, unable to move because of unbearable terror. Soon, he let go of Vidar and summoned the 500-meter-long Lucifer, bolstering the terrifying darkness compressed 100 times more than the current Khan could ever use. Dragon Strike! Boom! A massive blade slash of darkness passed through uninterrupted and unopposed, pulverizing everything in a 10-kilometer straight line just from Khan's single swing. And what remained? Thud! Hank Primos, who looked like a legendary rank monster in his primal form, was now slashed into 2 parts like a bull cut into half. His massive 500 meters tall 4-legged body was now spraying streams of blood with this. The future Khan finished 2 saints in just 2 minutes. The others could only tremble in fear after looking at this merciless and brutal slaughter. Each saint finished with a single strike. Don't be surprised. Khan's murderous and ruthless voice echoed on the battlefield as he declared, I'm just getting started. The battlefield resonated with the terrifying power unleashed by the future Khan, now an apostle of war. The enemy saints, identified as significant threats due to their elemental affinities, were the first to face the wrath of this formidable entity. Despite attempting to flee, the first enemy saint met his demise under the combined assault of Sigrun and Vidar, Khan's new shield and battle-axe. The indomitable aura of the future Khan proved overwhelming, leaving no room for escape. The second opponent, displaying more courage, opted for a direct confrontation at full capacity. However, the outcome proved unfavorable for him, as he miscalculated his own strength while underestimating the otherworldly power possessed by the future Khan. Just a single swing from Lucifer using the Dragon Strike skill was enough to split him in half like slaughtering a cattle. In just 2 minutes, Khan killed 2 saints from the enemy side. In just 2 minutes, Khan killed 2 saints from the enemy side. The battle unfolded in a manner that even the current Khan found challenging to comprehend, because this future version of him was already in a far higher league than he was. All right, the next one. Spoke future Khan, and his figure disappeared. His next target was Ariel, the priestess with water element affinity and also holy spells. The reason Khan targeted her after those 2 was that Ariel was someone who could later become a hindrance and come in to save her allies. And now that the Black Sun had forced her into an isolated place away from her allies, it was the perfect opportunity. You think I will make the same mistake twice? Asked Ariel in a vengeful tone. In seconds, she started casting numbers of holy spells that created hundreds of protective barriers around her from all directions, and also, a tsunami arose in the 3-kilometer radius, attacking Khan's ginormous figure with highly compressed water blades and attacks. Ha! Just because she can use holy magic doesn't mean it ensures her safety till her allies arrive. Spoke Khan in disdain. Go help her, you idiots. He's trying to kill the only healer who can help and strengthen all of you, yelled Anakin. Whoosh! Swoosh! The other saints, who were more than 15 kilometers away in the sky, suddenly jolted and sprung forth while keeping their distance away from the Black Sun that was now twice bigger in size. However, the future Khan had no intentions to wait for help to arrive. Look at this, Numi. This is how you deal with holy magic spells and barriers. He spoke in a confident tone. Stab! He stabbed Vidar in the ground and kneeled as if he was praying. I invoke the authority in the name of the Almighty God of Darkness. As I, his herald, Khan Salvator, the hero of darkness, demands to open the gates of abyss. He bellowed in a majestic and authoritative tone. Rumble. Soon, for gates made of pure darkness, each standing 200 meters tall with millions of bones of countless beings and skulls of dragons and god-beasts in the middle, arose from the ground. These were the literal gates of hell in Vantria. And now, the future Khan had opened them with a single command. The gates now surrounded Ariel, the priestess, and she trembled in fear after sensing the ominous aura of death. Creak. In seconds, the gates started opening. Boom! And before even her allies reached close, a massive surge of blue hellfire was shot forth from these gates and incinerated the barriers, the tsunami of water and arg! A terrifying wail of anguish spread as the priestess was incinerated alive. As they watched from afar, the remaining saints were bewildered. It had been more seconds since they charged forth, but Khan had summoned the gates of abyss just to use the hellfire that appeared when they opened. "Hey, isn't that an overkill?" asked Judas, trembling in disbelief. "Did he just summon the gates of hell? Are you kidding me? Who the hell is this guy?" shouted Null in disbelief. We never should have come in the first place. That bastard Anakin is the reason why we died, and he's the reason why we will die again," bellowed Judas. "Whoosh! Bad-mouthing your leader? I call this insubordination. And insubordination during a battle is punishable by death," spoke Khan in a vicious voice. "Void realm. Swoom." Soon, the nearby 10 kilometers of space was suddenly covered in a black dome-like barrier, and inside, everything froze. The aura of darkness had stopped the time as Judas, the monster-like saint, was now even unable to move or use any of his skills. Future Khan used the Void Realm skill after so many years, ever since he got it from Ajax, the Dark Summoner in the Bromner dungeon. Usually, the current Khan never used it because it could potentially expose his identity as Hero of Darkness. But the future Khan doesn't seem to care about that at all, as he used it against Judas, a level 3 saint. Vidar suddenly lit up with blue hellfire, just like the one that emerged from the gates of abyss. Slash! The 1 kilometer-tall Titanic Khan did not even waste another moment and slashed it vertically. To him, it was like using a sword to kill an ant, given the difference in their size. Boom! The ground shattered and the surge of world energy exploded. Crumble! The void realm shattered, but Judas had already turned into ash. Khan, with the wolf's head, turned in the hero's direction and winked with a friendly smile. "Got rid of the traitor for you." His next target was none other than Targos Boltan, the golem-like individual whose entire body was made of stone and whose skull was on fire. And this time, Khan did not even plan to move. "Hey there," spoke Khan after appearing a kilometer away from the saint. "Dance for me," ordered Khan. "What the hell did you just say? You think you can toy with me, you bastard?" bellowed Targos. But soon, the surrounding area was filled with rampaging storms and millions of water blades. The future Khan had used the Waterblade Hurricane skill, the legendary rank domain-like skill that he received from Cthulhu. 1 minute later, another dreary scene appeared as Khan deactivated the skill, and all that remained were a bunch of smoldering and shattered bricks. The transition from the present Khan to the future Khan marked a significant power shift. The future Khan showcased an array of new and spectacular skills, many of which surpassed the capabilities of the current Khan. Even with the various skills that had allowed Khan to navigate through life-threatening situations in the past, he had not reached the level of overpowering his opponents with effortless one-shot attacks until this moment. The battlefield became a showcase of unparalleled strength, with the future Khan unveiling skills that surpassed even the creative imagination of his present self. The discrepancy in power was evident, and the enemies faced an adversary whose abilities seemed to transcend the limitations of conventional understanding. The Apostle of War mode proved to be overwhelmingly superior to Khan's Azura and Shura modes. Future Khan effortlessly dispatched the resurrected saints with single moves, displaying a level of mastery that made his opponents seem like amateurs. Despite the immense power exhibited, the future Khan had not yet unleashed some of his most potent techniques, such as the dimensional cut. Despite holding back, he effortlessly turned the tide of the battle, showcasing his dominance in combat. The contrast between the current Khan's approach to battling saints and the future Khan's effortless dispatching highlighted the vast difference in combat prowess. While the current Khan relied on a combination of abilities, strategic thinking, and various tactics, the future Khan showcased the ability to eliminate opponents with a single move, seemingly disregarding conventional restrictions such as ranks, elemental affinity, and bloodlines. It displayed the stark difference in combat and experience the future Khan had, along with the capacity to completely overwhelm his opponents in a fight where he was hugely outnumbered. Khan, in his titanic form with a wolf's head and dragon wings, shifted his attention to the next saint called Niemann Stragver, the 4-meter-tall, bare-chested brawler-class warrior. This time, he simply pointed his palm towards the saint who flew in the sky 4 kilometers away. "Get over here," he commanded. And soon, despite being a 5th-stage saint himself, this brawler-class saint felt like his entire body was suppressed by an imaginable force. "Arg!" he screamed in fear. "Why can't I activate my domain?" he exclaimed and looked at Anakin's direction. "Activate your domain? Are you an idiot? He is a 5th-stage saint himself who is providing his own world energy to keep you all alive and give you strength to fight. On top of it, he is using his divine weapon which eats a hero's soul essence. Even as we speak, he is losing his levels and world energy drastically. And on top of it, his domain of chronokinesis is also active." Revealed future Khan. "This guy is expending so much of his energy that he can't even move from his place to assist any of you in this fight. Yet, you expect him to give you enough supplies to activate your domain?" explained Khan. This was the true reason why the hero of time was only watching from afar and not directly fighting Khan, despite seeing him obliterate his party members. Using his domain and the divine weapon simultaneously had already constrained him to a degree that he was akin to an immovable object. "And this is why you shouldn't have resurrected them, Gideon. Using your divine weapon and domain at the same time was already such an idiotic move. It's like you still haven't learned anything despite me beating you multiple times," said future Khan in an admonishing tone. "If only had you focused on fighting by yourself instead of relying on your allies in this timeline. Besides, did you forget that I fought these losers and killed them the last time we battled? Hell, even the new version of me managed to kill them at beginner grandmaster rank when all of them were semi-saints. So what made you think that it would be any different than before?" mocked Khan in a condescending voice, humiliating the hero and his party members. What does he mean by that? He has fought and killed us before? And what did he mean by new version of me? Asked Null as his gaze shifted to Anakin. TCH. Gideon. You should have told them the truth already, said Khan and declared to the rest of the hero's party. He and I are both from the future. He used a spell to come back in time. Moreover, he also knows that you are all just pawns of the royal family. That Ariel, the priestess who pretended to be in love with him in the future, was secretly the imperial prince and was only using this fool because the prince wanted to get the hero of time on his side to gain an advantage in the race to become the next emperor, declared future Khan. He also knows that in the future, many of you will betray and abandon him in dire situations despite him risking his life multiple times to save you morons. He does not see any of you as his friends or allies anymore. No, he only sees all of you as expendable pawns that he is going to discard in the future. That's why he brought you all with him to kill me despite knowing that most of you would die by my hands anyways. His kingly voice echoed. This sudden revelation by Khan left all the enemies asunder because now all of them started connecting the dots. Anakin Redfield, the hero of time, held a meeting over 4 months ago where he forced them to comply during that gathering and also forced a contract seal on them which prohibited everyone from revealing the secret objective from the imperial family. He had forced them to practice multiple ambush tactics and ways to counter certain attacks, skills, and abilities just so they could fight Khan by saying that his clairvoyance divine ability showed him glimpses of future. And now that the hero of darkness had pulled away the curtain, every single thing made sense to them. The only difference was that things did not go according to the plan, as most of them were being killed for the 3rd time apparently. And the only one they could blame it on was the hero of time. As the battle continued in Babylon, a signal was lit up in a different plane of existence. In the realm of nothing but death and darkness, an imaginably huge being spanning thousands of kilometers, seated on a throne, suddenly opened its blistering fiery red eyes. As soon as the future Khan used the authority of Hero of Darkness and opened the Gate of Abyss and used the Hellfire to kill Ariel, it acted as a beacon and awoke this transcendent being in the eternal abyss. The transcendent rune of reminiscence has been used. Khan has returned. Spoke this personification of death and darkness, also known as the god of darkness. Looks like the dragon delivered upon his promise. Without him storing his soul along with Khan's in the future, he would not have been able to return to the past even with the rune, since the rune itself only activates by the blessings of God of Time. Spoke God of Darkness. And right beside him was a being whose height was 10,000 kilometers. This knight-like being with two massive blades on his back and adorning a black and red ancient armor spoke in a stern voice. Well, he was the strongest and noblest of them all in the history of Vantria. Of course, he would keep his word. The being that responded was none other than Cravel, the war deity. So by now, the hero of time must be fighting the future Khan. He stated. Correct. But I'm more concerned about the task he gave us before we sent him to the current Khan of this timeline through the transcendent rune. Said the god of darkness solemnly. I have gotten Yama and Moors to accept 2 of the subordinates as their apostle. However, the deities that could bless Armin and Rudra are mostly from the enemy camps who serve the god of life and goddess of knowledge. Originally, I wanted to propose Rudra as the main candidate to Moors. But when I got there, he had already found Jugram, who was far more suitable because of his bloodline. Stated Cravel. I see. This seems like a better choice to me. Rudra, I have no hopes for him anyway. He will either be useful or stay like an expendable pawn in the future while others become far stronger. And he is no match for the Khan of now, no matter how noble his bloodlines are. Spoke God of Darkness without much concern in his voice. But next, God of Darkness smirked, but his expression couldn't be seen because of the skull he had for a face. As for Armin, there is one deity though. She is most likely to take him as her apostle. He stated. She? I do not think it will happen given how much she detests you, the death itself. Responded Cravel in an incredulous voice. Yes, I know. But she loves this world. Her genuine concern for saving the world far exceeds her hatred for me. And did you forget about her falling out with the god of nature 3,000 years ago when we initiated the hero summoning for the first time? Stated God of Darkness. I remember. She was the only deity who opposed bringing humans from other worlds whose souls allowed them to become a demigod in our world, saying that they would break the great balance of life with their existence. Replied Cravel. Yes, and after how close we are to nigh destruction, she will be forced to act up in the form of choosing Armin as her apostle, especially since he is a walking, talking personification of both nature and sentient plant species. Spoke God of Darkness in a devious tone. Make use of her desperation. He spoke and commanded Cravel. As you say, my liege, I will contact Demeter. He responded and bowed. Finally, when Cravel was about to leave, what do you think will be the result of the conflict? Asked God of Darkness. Between Khan and Hero of Time? Asked Cravel. No, between Khan and Khan. Spoke God of Darkness. Because in the end, whether it is the future Khan or the current Khan, said God of Darkness with a bemused and sinister tone, only one will remain. Within the god's domain, in a different peninsula forged by another god, a figure emerged from the imposing gates of a white castle seated atop a towering mountain. Rumble, crackle. The air crackled with an ominous energy, and thunderous echoes reverberated across the vast open lands surrounding the mountain. The pristine white castle stood in stark contrast to the dark, foreboding clouds that gathered above, as if nature itself recoiled from the divine presence within. Bang! Shatter! Lightning struck repeatedly, illuminating the landscape in brief, eerie flashes. The mountain, its peak obscured by the tempest, bore the scars of the celestial clash, revealing the raw power of the godly forces at play. In this realm of destruction, the figure from the castle surveyed the surroundings, and the relentless storm seemed to respond to the silent will of the god. Creak! The gate swung open, revealing a tall and robust figure. His hair, a striking blend of black and white stripes, framed a weathered face adorned with a brown beard that spoke of both wisdom and battle-hardened experience. This imposing figure stepped forth, his legendary rank armor a testament to his might. The chest plate, pauldrons, gauntlets, and waistguard composed an ensemble that emanated both power and authority. Despite the exposed upper half of his body, the man exuded a dominating aura that demanded respect from all who laid eyes upon him. As he moved, a mesmerizing dance of red, green, and blue auras encircled him, akin to streams of translucent water weaving an ethereal tapestry. The armor itself seemed alive, with numerous eyes sporadically placed across its surface, periodically glowing in sync with the divine energies coursing through it. Simultaneously, the man's yellow eyes, devoid of any iris, radiated an overwhelming presence that left those who awaited outside the door in awe of the force of nature that had exited God's altar. "He's finally out!" exclaimed a beastkin with the head of a goat, adorned in resplendent golden garments and shamanic gear. "Did you succeed, Lord Hero? Have you completed both the objectives?" inquired a peculiar humanoid entity, floating in midair without eyes or ears. Its entire form appeared crafted from white porcelain stone rather than flesh. Finally, the hero spoke after emerging from God's altar. "Yes, I did. I have both met the God of Lightning to limit break and secured both the Apples of Eden, as per our main missions," he declared in a deep and resonant voice. "Good. With this, our part in this conclave of heroes is done. We might as well leave now," declared the goat-headed party member. "However, no, I still need to find him. I heard he is pretty strong." The warrior-like hero spoke in a firm tone. "Lord Hero, we shouldn't. Even the Emperor instructed us to directly return instead of looking for him. To the Empire, your life is far more precious than just another chance at gaining a peak saint. We should return as previously agreed," urged another party member, hidden beneath black mage robes. "It would be too big of a loss, wouldn't it? I recently became a 6th-stage saint and still haven't fought a worthy opponent in far too long. This is an opportunity too good to pass on. Besides, wouldn't you guys also like to know who is stronger among us?" the hero asked with a confident smile. "The hero of darkness or," he declared with eyes full of fighting spirit, "the hero of lightning." Boom! The battle in the peninsula created by the god of darkness was now halfway through as the future Khan had restrained Neiman, the brawler saint using the gravity law skill. Just a minute ago, he revealed the truth about him and the hero of time being from the future and the latter knowing about their true nature. This made all the other assailants halt their attacks and grasp the predicament they were in. After Khan revealed some facts he knew about the future, not a single one of them had doubts and all concluded that their lives were wasted as mere pawns during the brawl filled with vengeance between the hero of darkness and the hero of time. Using this opportunity, future Khan decided to impart some words of wisdom to his current self. Xing, millions of his summoned weapons, made of his world energy, that hovered around him were now coated with a translucent yellowish layer. What no one knew was that even these magic spells and attack skills that were already terrifying on their own were now coated by Jormungandr's neurotoxin venom. This is how you should have used Jormungandr's venom since the beginning. Not only you should coat your weapons with it, but also forms an unnoticeable layer on all of your summoned weapons or spells. This will not only break apart many armors and enemy weapons since it can corrode them even if the attack fails. When the opponent is sprayed with the venom, they will soon lose control over their bodies. He stated solemnly. "You failed to use it despite being taught magic by a sage." He spoke in a commanding tone. "Arg!" wailed Neiman as some of the summoned spears by future Khan that were made of the lightning element attacked the saint and started drilling into his skin. Being a 5th-stage saint, the attack wasn't enough to penetrate his body this easily. Stab! But soon, Khan commanded dozens of 10-meter-long spears to do the same, and as time went on, the outer skin started melting as multiple wounds opened. If the weapons were not coated by the legendary rank monster's venom, attacks of this degree wouldn't even have penetrated his skin, no matter how long it was. But the result was now that without even using a flashy or lethal attack, the future Khan had broken past all the defenses. Sizzle! Neiman's skin and flesh started sizzling as he felt immense pain across his body. You're going to die slowly, unable to move, and soon, your breathing will also stop, spoke Khan and threw Neiman into a corner of the battlefield. Boom! The Daint's body dropped like a discarded pebble on the side of the road, and just like Khan said, soon, he couldn't even move his eyes or speak a word as the venom completely rendered him vegetative. Swoosh! Soon, Khan moved to his next target, unbothered to even finish off this fifth-stage saint that would be treated as a god by the common citizens of his empire, fated to die like a mosquito at the hands of Hero of Darkness. As the time for the Apostle of War mode to end came close, Khan decided to not waste another moment. Dimensional Domain, First Form, Commandment of the King, shouted the titanic samurai Khan. Blip! The surrounding 40 kilometers, everything that was previously covered by the Hero of Time's artifact, his divine weapon, and the domain of chronokinesis was now overtaken by Khan's dimensional domain without a single resistance. Normally, when Khan used dimensional domain, it dropped all of the enemy's stats by 50% and gave himself a 50% boost in all stats. But that was just the base function. The first form of the dimensional domain that Khan created after the culmination of knowledge and training by Romulus and Vildred when he trained in the Hall of Sentience, assimilating the domain with his available abilities and intellect, was completely different. It was no longer just a pitch-black realm void of life or a single construct. Now, it created a different world where mana and world energy were manipulated at Khan's will. Swoosh! In a mere second, despite his ginormous size, the 1-kilometer-tall Khan in the monstrous Apostle of War mode teleported so fast that even other saints could not register his movements. This was one of the functions of the first form. In contrast to the base form, Khan could now teleport anywhere inside the domain, create illusions, and delay the reaction speed of enemies, making them unable to detect his movements even if they were a saint of the same rank as him. Slash! Boom! Sensing mortal danger, all the saints attacked despite the risk of being sucked by the Black Sun. However, even after their attacks hit his enormous body made of darkness, not a single scratch was seen. Khan could now use any type of spell to lower the strength of enemies and perfectly counter their elemental attacks. Isolation, debuff, weapons, and element switching. Nobody even detected that their attacks were countered by multiple saint rank and a few legendary rank spells as well as dimensional cracks before they even touched the ginormous Khan. In a sense, Khan was akin to a saint while it was them who were now reduced to the rank of a grandmaster. Infinite Dream. Khan's eyes then glowed golden, and in mere moments, the surroundings for each of the saints changed. Lucid reality now had second form called Infinite Dream when used inside the first form of dimensional domain. This change occurred after Khan learned to incorporate illusion magic from the sage mentor aka Vildred. Khan didn't use it before because this skill could completely derange the target's mind and turn them brain dead. So far, he never needed to use this skill because he wasn't always sure about killing his opponents and wanted to extract information from them most of the time after entering God's domain. This was the type of magic Khan hadn't heard of before, mainly because even Saint Mages could only perfect it with the help of legendary rank artifacts which were extremely rare and also needed decades of practice. Shiver. All the Saint enemies now stood rooted in their spots, each seeing and feeling a different reality of their own. Things were no longer just illusions but partly real as well. This made the skill more terrifying because one couldn't tell the difference between reality and the illusionary world. Stab. Stab. One after another, the saints made their most lethal attacks and stabbed Khan whom they saw in their vision. Blurg! What the hell are you all doing? Shouted the hero of time. Shatter. Crumble. As the illusion finally broke, everyone returned to reality and finally saw the truth. The one they had collectively attacked and stabbed with their weapons and spells to kill wasn't Khan. It was the hero of time. Without even letting anyone have a chance to see through his skills, Khan pulled the Eisen move on the hero's party. The battlefield fell into an eerie silence as the remnants of the hero's party stood, dumbfounded and horrified. The realization struck them like a hammer. The devastating attacks they unleashed weren't directed at Khan but at Anakin. The sheer magnitude of this revelation could spell doom for anyone, even for those who held the esteemed title of saint. The once tumultuous battleground was now draped in a thick, uneasy silence, only punctuated by the lingering echoes of their own destructive efforts. Stunned and disoriented, the members of the hero's party exchanged bewildered glances. What was supposed to be their triumphant moment now hung heavy with an air of dreadful realization. Khan, or rather, the imposter Anakin, emerged unscathed from the onslaught, a living testament to the tactical genius that had orchestrated this grand illusion. An air of mystery and deception now clouded the once clear battlefield, leaving the party members grappling with the implications of their unwitting attack on their own leader. In that critical moment, Anakin's chest, heart, and lungs bore the brunt of devastating strikes. His countenance mirrored the profound disbelief that echoed through his soul. Just moments earlier, he had witnessed the concerted assault of all his comrades, united against Khan. However, in the blink of an eye, the situation had inexplicably reversed, with him taking the fatal blows meant for Khan. The sense of betrayal and bewilderment etched on Anakin's face narrated a tale of confusion, an abrupt shift from certainty to a disorienting reality where allies had turned executioners. The unraveling events had left him grappling with a truth that defied the logic of his understanding. As Khan stepped forward from the shadows, the enigma of his deception hung heavy in the air. Anakin, now lying wounded on the ground, glanced at Khan. It was a silent acknowledgement, a shared understanding of the strategic gambit that had unfolded. The hero's party, caught in the aftermath of their own assault, stood frozen in a tableau of disbelief. Khan, with a demeanor that balanced amusement and calculation, addressed the unfolding scene. Deception, my friends, is a potent weapon. It can turn the tide of battle in a mere second. He spoke in an authoritative tone. The unexpected transposition between Khan and Anakin unfolded as a result of a newfound ability stemming from Khan's recently unlocked legendary rank class, the Void Sentinel. Within this mysterious designation, a unique skill emerged, granting Khan the power to switch places with a chosen target. While Khan had possessed the capacity for translocation with his cosmic replicas, this newfound ability went beyond. Limited to the first form of the dimensional domain, Khan could now seamlessly switch places with a designated target within the domain. This move, a once-a-day privilege, became a pivotal tool in his arsenal, especially when engaged in combat within his domain with multiple opponents. The first form of the dimensional domain, called the Commandment of the King, a manifestation of Khan's mastery, provided an array of advantages. It not only facilitated the simultaneous neutralization of multiple adversaries but also exerted influence over their elemental affinities, manipulated their skill output, countered attacks with opposing elements, and even harnessed the potent infinite dream skill against a multitude of targets. In simple words, he was a nightmare for everyone when Khan activated the first form of the dimensional domain. "You bastard! You still fight dirty," said Anakin with a furious gaze as his eyes turned bloodshot red. "Dirty, you say? And who was it that attacked me with a whopping 11 saints while using an ancient rank magic formation as well as an artifact? If anything, I should be applauded for overturning the situation. Besides, stop acting like this would kill you or anything," spoke Khan as he smirked. And like he said, soon all the weapons, spells that affected him, and the injured organs started healing themselves, and even Anakin's torn and tattered clothes returned to normal, similar to before the battle even began. "Do you see this, Numi? Reversing time and becoming unkillable inside his domain is one of the reasons why the hero of time was so hard to kill even if multiple heroes attacked him together. As long as his domain of chronokinesis is active, he cannot be killed by anyone, since all it takes him a microsecond to turn his physical state back to a time when he was unhurt. The only drawback is that it expends a huge amount of world energy for Anakin," iterated the future Khan. "I had to kill him a total of 23 times in the past in multiple ways and using many strategies until I finished him off for good. But even then, this bastard had an ace under his sleeves and came back to the past. So do remember that if I hadn't returned to the past using the transcendent rune of Reminiscence, you would have been dead for real in this timeline. And if you died, I would also die, and many events related to my life which also impacted the war against the demon god would change completely," he explained. As the future Khan was explaining things to the current Khan, boom! Go to hell, you useless scums. You are all a hindrance even in this timeline, spoke the hero of time, and soon he started casting a spell. No, Lord Hero. Please, why? Shouted Echidna. But before she or others could react, Anakin deactivated the spell, allowing him to reverse time and resurrect his deceased allies. No! Spoke Null before his body was turned into dust. The remaining saints shared the same fate as him as their part in this battle ended. As for why the hero of time willingly gave up the advantage in numbers, it was obvious that the future Khan was simply way too overpowered for his allies to handle, and at the same time, his resurrected allies were siphoning a lot of his world energy, rendering him unable to fight back or cast additional spells and formations. And the way things were progressing, Khan would have eventually killed all of them, and he would have received a major backlash after the spell was destroyed. So there was no point in delaying the inevitable and losing a lot of his fighting prowess for a futile strategy at this point. After a few more minutes passed, the Apostle of War mode finally ended and Future Khan reverted to his original state. Now, his muscular and half-exposed upper body with draconic runes appeared in front of the hero of time. Ha ha ha! Looks like you have finally run out of all the petty tricks, Salvatore. I was right to take away your access to Rathnar Whitlock's core and sever your connection to his half-soul. If you still had it, you would never run out of world energy, spoke Anakin as he started chanting another spell. Break the world! Finality of time! Shouted Anakin, and soon, the first form of Khan's domain was reversed and the domain itself vanished. Although Khan had reduced his stats and spell output, the hero of time still had his divine weapon. Your most powerful transformation is over. You don't have a divine weapon in this timeline yet. And now even your domain has vanished. There is nowhere to go now, Salvatore. I shall stomp on you like the worm you are, proclaimed Anakin with a condescending tone. Swoosh! What happened next was the nearby battlefield shattered and multiple realities appeared in front of them. In one stream, Khan was fighting for his life on the last with Anakin, and in another one, Anakin was being stomped under Khan's feet. Ah, this again! This was a great nuisance last time as well, spoke Future Khan as he gazed at hundreds of these streams of timelines where there were multiple endings to this fight. You seeing this? This bastard can summon multiple timelines using his divine weapon, and after a few minutes pass, he can choose the most suitable diverging point in those timelines to make it into the reality of the real world. This way, even if he is fated to die, he can always change the ending where he emerges victorious. Last time, I countered it using a unique method and with the help of something the hero of space had given me. But we are far back in the past where I haven't even met him or have the artifact. So our chances are slim, iterated the Future Khan. I was called the Martial Emperor in the timeline I am from, and I never used a single weapon. I only used my body to fight and my skills along with the martial arts that I mixed with darkness. Just like you, I received the training from Master Romulus. However, the techniques were different for me. Also, I did not have any blessings from any demigod. Cravel did not make me his apostle at all. So I had to rely on my own capabilities since the very beginning, as I did not have War Deity Body or the Berserk God mode like you. And among one of the most powerful skills I learned, which is also the same for you in this timeline, said Khan sternly. It is time, spoke Future Khan, and his gaze turned determined. To use the fifth and the final technique. After the conclusion of his previous Apostle of War mode, Future Khan decided that it was time to use the final technique taught by his master, Romulus. This was a technique created by his mentor, the Apostle of Slaughter, and was common in both timelines. In this timeline, Khan learned a lot of overpowered techniques created specifically for him given his powers, skills, and bloodlines. First was harnessing, which allowed him to compress and condense world energy while constantly fluctuating it on the atomic level, similar to the fission reaction used in a nuclear bomb. That raised the output of his summoned weapons, attack skills, and magic spells by 7 to 8 times. Second was conceptualization, which allowed him to turn a lightning weapon attack or spell to any attack of a different element best suited to counter an enemy attack in a mere moment, along with changing the form of weapon and spell at the same time without suffering any form of backlash. The third being embodiment, which allowed Khan to use his different bloodlines and turn into a massive 1-kilometer-tall being with the best passive abilities of his 5 powerful bloodlines, such as the Apostle of War mode. Unlike the Azura mode or Shura mode, Future Khan did not even need the assistance of system to create that form. The fourth was called the World of Gluttony. By using it, Khan merged plenty of his overpowered skills and even space law skills to create a literal black hole that could not only engulf everything in the world, but also suck away world energy from saints like a vicarious beast with unfathomable hunger. And finally, it was time for the fifth and final one. Now, Future Khan's gaze turned to the dragon hovering around him. "It's time to fight together again, old friend." He spoke in a resolute tone and nodded with a sense of understanding. The massive dragon nodded as well, and before the eyes of the hero of time. Rar! The massive dragon opened his maw and swallowed the Future Khan completely, eating him alive. Swoosh! Things didn't stop here, as the dragon, leaking cosmic ether, soon shot itself towards the black sun. Anakin was left gobsmacked as he saw the dragon being swallowed and disappearing inside the black sun skill Khan created. That thing can kill even a hero, and he's entering that black hole? He asked himself, completely bewildered. Shrink. But soon, the black sun started shrinking and all the world energy in it started coalescing into a small sphere. Squirm. Finally, all the darkness and the world energy gathered inside the black sun was merged with the blue cosmic ether leaking from the dragon's body. Boom! A massive black and blue pillar of darkness and cosmic ether exploded, and an overwhelming presence appeared out of it. "This is the fifth technique, the personification," spoke the newly emerged being in a deep rustic voice that sounded anything but human. A head with multiple horns and a draconic face. A 10-meter-tall, ripped and muscular, as well as scaly body with pitch-black darkness and blue cosmic ether running across its veins appeared. "This is my dragonoid form," declared this new entity. The silence ensued in the surroundings, but things didn't end as the 30-kilometer radius battlefield filled with millions of timelines started shaking. Flicker. Soon, a blinding light appeared and a massive 100-meter-tall bursting flame made of 6 different colors, giving off an otherworldly aura, appeared in the sky. Future Khan had summoned Amaterasu. "Gideon, did you forget about the divine keys, you idiot? In case you forgot, I killed the hero of fire and gained his divine weapon too," declared this dragonoid Khan in a deep and domineering tone. "And unlike what you know, the divine weapons can acknowledge another hero as their master," he iterated. Flutter. Soon, the blue cosmic ether from dragonoid Khan's body arose and flew towards the flame as mixed his cosmic ether with Amaterasu. Boom! Now, the entire Amaterasu turned into a dark blue fire that gave off the aura of both its destructive as well as chaotic nature and space law. Shoot! Crumble! Khan started attacking with multiple laser beams and pulverized multiple streams of timelines that couldn't be touched before. "How is that possible? Even in the past, you were not able to destroy them but only deactivate them for a short time," spoke Anakin, completely gobsmacked. "Because I have a divine weapon with one of the most destructive powers among all the other divine weapons, and now I mixed with cosmic ether, an essence only available from the linchpins of multiverse," revealed Khan in a majestic voice. "What? Did you go to the Empire of Space already?" asked the hero of time in a befuddled voice. "Nope. I explored some more within a tool I already had," replied Khan coldly. Khan did not tell him about the existence of the Tablet of Arcana or the Chamber of Exaltation. This was something he hadn't told the hero of time even in the original timeline. Anakin knew about his connection to Rathnar and the Peak Saints core from the past timeline. The main reason he had found out about it was because of his own divine weapon, Finality of Time. Because in one of the streams of timeline, he saw Khan never running out of world energy, and after looking into the matter, he found a scenario where the connection was revealed. This was also one of the reasons why Anakin brought an ancient rank artifact called Warhorn of Confinement that severed this connection between him and Rathnar to kill Khan in this timeline. Had not it been for the future Khan returning as well, He would have succeeded just by activating his divine weapon and domain of chronokinesis, which messed with people's perception of time. But for some reason, the future Khan had no sense of danger even now, despite not having the means to counter it since those countermeasures hadn't happened yet. Bang! Anakin did not get enough time to digest this predicament as Dragonoid Khan attacked the streams of timeline with his bare fists covered in the cosmic ether. Boom! Shatter! Along with Amaterasu, who kept attacking the streams of timelines before Anakin turned them into reality. The Dragonoid Khan was like a ferocious beast with overwhelming power who was relentless in his pursuit to kill the hero of time. Punch! Boom! Anakin's figure shot forth like a bullet and landed in a small peak, destroying it instantly. And as the dust settled from this encounter, a massive 5-kilometer radius crater was formed. This was a battle of saints with godly bodies. Just a normal punch was enough to decimate a mountain because of their use of world energy. Right then, another voice echoed in Khan's mind. Ha ha ha! It's been ages since I faced and fought the finality of time. Although you're not the one I made the contract with, I have to thank you for the satisfaction. Spoke an archaic voice in Khan's mind. No need to thank me over such a minor thing, Amaterasu. I should at least give you a show for acknowledging me as your master in this timeline. Besides, your fire is better even than the Dragonfire and Hellfire to merge my cosmic ether with. They would have merely affected the streams, but with your divine fire and my dimensional law, I can burn the timeline itself. Replied Khan to the divine weapon, Amaterasu. Hey Gideon, this is getting boring. I know your soul essence is running out and your world energy is at least half than before. So I will stop holding back and end things quickly, said Future Khan and smirked. His dragon face with sharp fangs and his burning blue eyes gave him a sinister look. Whoosh! He started attacking the hero of time. Soon he started killing Anakin with mere punches and kicks. Once he ripped out his heart and his head together. But Anakin reverted to his original form in a microsecond. Each time, Khan was killing the hero of time differently. Previously, when the current Khan fought the hero of fire with death absolution skills, it took him a couple of hours, and had to come up with different strategies to take him down each time. But the future Khan was accomplishing exactly the same feat, but so frequently and quickly that it only had been a minute, but he already killed the hero of time over 13 times. TCH, this bastard just can't die as long as his divine weapon and domain is active. I'll just have to beat him senseless and kill him until he loses his world energy completely and most of his soul essence until he can't carry on. He said and kept attacking in a frenzy. What carried on was something both the future Khan and the current Khan were experts on. And that was torturing their enemies to death. An hour passed and Khan had killed the hero of time more than 246 times. Each time, Anakin went through a horrifying and excruciatingly painful death. Because he was using both the divine weapon and domain, he could not cast too many spells and countermeasures that would save him. Plus, the Dragonoid Khan was already as strong as a beginner 7th stage saint, just like when he used the embodiment technique while fighting the other saints from the hero's party. No matter what defense he used, Khan simply punched and kicked his way out of it. And now, Amaterasu had also destroyed up to 98% of the timelines before they became reality. As for the remaining 2%, it looked like they were left untouched for a reason. Ark! You bastard! I'll kill you! Spoke Anakin. Bang! Khan just punched a hole through Anakin's torso and only his shoulders and head remained. The rest of the body was incinerated in mere moments since the fire made of cosmic ether was also the Dragonfire. You talkin' mad shit for someone who I killed more than 200 times. Spoke Khan with a disgusted look. Shatter. Amaterasu finally finished the job and only 4 streams of timeline remained. That's it, you bastard. Your time is over. Spoke Anakin after reverting his physical state to perfect when he was untouched. Now, I will make them into reality, he exclaimed with a sinister smile. However, instead of feeling worried, Future Khan only responded with a smirk. Good. I would like nothing more. But at least look at them first. He suggested. Did you really think I couldn't destroy them in time? No, I spared those out of pity and gave you an option, declared Khan in an overbearing tone. Anakin pulled all 4 streams of timelines closer to him and saw what was happening in them. Shudder. His body shivered in terror as he saw the result. Because in each one of them, the Dragonoid Khan had killed the hero of time in the most gruesome and humiliating way possible. Now tell me, O mighty hero of time, spoke the Dragonoid Khan in a domineering voice, which timeline do you want to become reality? After Future Khan showed him the remaining 4 timelines and what happened inside them, Anakin Redfield, the hero of time, dropped to his knees, his resolve to fight shattered. As if those hundreds of cruel and gruesome deaths at the hands of the Future Khan, whose strength was on par with a 7th stage saint, was not enough. He, as a 5th stage saint, had lost his last resort of relying on his divine weapon, domain, and now the possible timelines that could have been used to emerge victorious. And now, Anakin was left at the mercy of this 10-meter-tall half-man half-dragon, whose fists were bigger than his own head. Shatter. Crumble. Soon, the hero of time ran out of soul essence and world energy completely, and because of this prolonged use, his rank dropped to a peak 4th stage saint from a beginner 5th stage saint. Why? Why did this happen? I brought everything with me. I trained my party members just to kill you. I even stole that ancient rank artifact and that spell from the Imperial family just to secure my victory. Spoke Anakin in a defeated voice. Just because you came back in time doesn't mean all my preparations should be countered so easily. I can't accept this. I won't accept this, bellowed Anakin with rage. This is where you're wrong, Gideon, replied Future Khan with contempt. Did you really think I would come back in time without making plans on how to get rid of you as soon as the Transcendent Rune of Reminiscence activated? You only had a year or so to prepare for this ambush. I had 6 years. And unlike you, whose skills, powers, subordinates, divine weapon, and domain I already knew about, you knew nothing about me from this new timeline. And I had everything planned and all possibilities calculated with all the different abilities and bloodlines I gained in this new reality. Even my backup plans have backup plans, you idiot. And all I had to do was wait for you to make contact with me, replied Khan with a devious smile. This was the undeniable truth that Anakin still hadn't grasped. You were ever the arrogant and spineless coward, Gideon. Do you think planning and using underhanded means to win makes you better than others? Of all the heroes I know, you were the only one who never did the hard work and relied too much on your divine weapon and domain instead of working hard to learn to fight like a warrior yourself. And now, all I have to do is rip your head off your body, declared Future Khan in a stoic tone. No matter how intelligent, manipulative, or deceptive one is, some battles can only be won by the strongest, he spoke solemnly. The hero of time's eyes widened and mouth gaped as a sense of realization dawned on him. At this moment, Anakin had completely accepted his defeat wholeheartedly. He had no world energy left to even cast a single spell, no artifact or a way to get out. After finality of time was deactivated, both of them were turned into semi-saints. However, the Dragonoid form was akin to a saint just with his physical strength alone. How could he even hope to escape from this sealed fate? He came to kill Khan, get his divine key, and become strongest among everyone else to become the hero of the world by killing the demon god while exacting his vengeance from the original timeline. Everything was going according to his plan until he killed Khan of this timeline and the one from the future, aka the original timeline, returned through the Rune of Reminiscence. And now, it was he who stood an inch close from certain death. However, sadly, I'm not going to kill you, suddenly declared Khan. What? Are you taking pity on me, Salvatore? Shouted Anakin as if he felt another form of humiliation. Pity? Don't think so highly of yourself, you damn urchin. I need to keep you alive for the sake of keeping the timeline intact so that few things happen similarly just like last time. Spoke Future Khan. My conviction to save this world is worth much more than taking your pathetic life. He spoke in a majestic voice. But it does not mean I can't completely screw you over. His countenance turned insidious. I brought a little present for you from the future. Spoke Khan, and next, swoosh, Future Khan and the dragon were separated from each other, returning to their original forms. Don't worry, I'm not gonna kill you, iterated Khan softly. but I'm gonna make you wish you were dead." The eerie silence ensued after Future Khan made his final threat. "I brought you a gift from the future, Gideon," spoke Khan in a menacing tone. "Sadvek main Alisabu Dajka," chanted Khan, and a glowing violet rune appeared in the air. In the following moments, it was the dragon who spoke. "This is ancient dragon magic. Although we agreed on not killing you, we still can't have you go around revealing the fact that Khan has returned from the future and knows what's going to happen during the Great War. So this is to shut you up," spoke the dragon in a sinister tone, as if he was about to enjoy what was to happen. Soon, the rune attached itself to Anakin's forehead and was absorbed in a glimpse. "Now look into my eyes," he commanded. After declaring his intentions, Khan activated lucid reality again. "I reverse-engineered one of your domain's powers you used during our battle in the original timeline. Now you will live a life of torment, at the expense of the very spell you created." He spoke in a grim voice. "And remember, I will come for you. No matter what part of the world you're hiding in or how many powerful beings are protecting you, nothing will save you from me. Instill this fact in your mind," iterated Khan in a vengeful tone. "Remember that every breath you take, every living moment you experience, you're living on borrowed time, only because I decided that you were not worth killing this early. And one day," declared Khan in a ruthless voice, "I will come to collect." Khan's domineering countenance and his majestic voice echoed on the battlefield as he decided to impart cruel and unforgiving mercy on the hero of time. Blip. The next second, Anakin's entire surroundings changed, and he was chained on a platform while thousands of citizens watched. "Give up, Gideon var Melvinger. Your kingdom has lost the war and all of your royal knights are also dead," declared a middle-aged man with a majestic sword in his hands. This man wore a black and golden majestic attire similar to a long coat made for royalty. His cold black eyes and long hair along with a beard were the striking features of his appearance, enough to instill fear in others as if they would be devoured in moments if they came close to him. In this setting, Gideon was in his mid-30s and so was the man holding the sword over his head. "You don't think this is the end, King Salvatore. People of my kingdom will rise again whether their king is dead or alive. That, I can promise you on my life," spoke Gideon as he bled from all his 4 severed limbs. This was not just some illusion, but rather a different world, a different timeline, and a completely different life for Anakin, the hero of time. In this world, Gideon was a righteous king who saw his people losing in war after being attacked by a neighboring kingdom out of the blue. Khan Salvatore, the king of the enemy side, had massacred all his people, butchered nobles and high-ranking officers, and tortured him by cutting his limbs and chaining him in front of the frightened civilian populace. One by one, he executed most of Gideon's chivalrous knights just to set an example in front of the public. "It's been an honor, my lord," spoke an elderly man who was the commander of the Royal Knights. Slash. With a single slash, Khan beheaded the old man as thousands of civilians watched it in the capital's main square. Gideon closed his eyes, heartbroken by the fact that his once mentor and the most trusted knight was killed so mercilessly right in front of him. You will pay for this," he spoke with bloodthirsty eyes. "Don't get angry over the death of a small rat," spoke this older version of Khan with a beard. "Bring the main dish," he commanded. "Step. No. Let me go," shouted a blonde-haired and braided woman with blue eyes. "No, let her go. Your war is with me," shouted Gideon haphazardly. The woman who was brought by the enemy knights was his wife and the queen. Along with her was a 13-year-old boy who had hair and eyes the same as Gideon. "This is the price of defying me, the one this world calls the Black Dragon Knight. This war would not have happened if you accepted my proposal of turning your kingdom into my vassal state," declared Khan and took out a dagger from his belt. He slowly walked behind the queen and let out a sinister smirk. Slit. Khan slowly slit the queen's throat as Gideon stood rooted on the spot. Thud. The queen's body dropped on the ground, gagging and covered in her own blood while having eyes full of terror. "Don't just cry now. All of that was just the appetizer," spoke Khan in a merciless and cold voice. Khan then smiled and then pulled Gideon's 13-year-old son towards himself. "No, not my son. I beg you, please leave him alone. Take my life instead, but please spare him," pleaded Gideon, flailing in those chains as he saw his son in the enemy's clutches. Just now, he witnessed the love of his life getting killed in front of his eyes, but he could not do anything as he didn't even have arms or legs. But the shock wasn't even absorbed and Khan already targeted his innocent son, who was the pearl of his eyes. "Shoo! Quiet. Do not disturb me," said Khan coldly. Khan then put his dagger back and pulled out his great sword again as he looked at the shocked and frozen child who just witnessed his mother's murder. "Nothing personal, child. You have sinned of being born as this man's son." Slash. With a single swing, Khan beheaded the innocent prince as his father watched helplessly. "No! Not my son! Not my son! Arg!" bellowed Gideon in sorrow. Soon, his wails and screams full of sadness and loss filled the surroundings, as if heaven and earth were weeping alongside him. Thousands of eyewitnesses who saw this horrifying execution of the royal family stood helplessly while being cornered by the enemy kingdom's armies. Hey, isn't walking into a room and killing a bunch of children your thing, Anakin?" mocked the bearded Khan. "You! Even if I have to sell my soul to the devil, I will exact vengeance on you. I will make you regret the moment you were born. My fury will know no bounds, and even the gods can't save you from me," spoke Gideon like a hero of a novel, as if this was the beginning of his revenge story. "Shut the hell up, you narcissistic bastard. You're making my ears bleed with those cringy-ass dialogues," rebuked Khan in annoyance. Sure. Get reborn in the world and I will again take away everything you've ever loved in that life as well," said Khan and walked towards the chained hero of time. Even if I have to make a deal with the king of hell, I will come back and kill you," declared Gideon, his eyes full of wrath and fury. "Is that so? Then why don't I send you there? And when you meet Yama," spoke Khan and smirked, "tell him I said hi." Slash. With no sign of guilt or sympathy in his eyes, future Khan beheaded Anakin aka Gideon. The cold eyes symbolized his disregard for empathy, as he did not regret killing a wife and a child in front of a helpless husband and a father at all. However, what the hero of time didn't know, this was just the beginning of his nightmares. After granting a soul-shivering death to the hero of time, the surroundings changed again. The scene then shifted to a compact courtroom. The room consisted of 3 military judges, a prosecutor, a defense counsel, and 8 officers sitting as a panel of court-martial members. And in one of the booths was Gideon in a marshal's uniform. In this setting, Gideon was a soldier who was facing court-martial. The story went like this. Gideon was the leader of one of the top special ops units that fought on the borders, and he was a patriot of his country. But just 2 months ago, his team received intel that someone from their side was selling the military supplies covertly to the terrorists, and there were a bunch of corrupt officers within the military who were profiting from the deaths of their own soldiers by prolonging the conflict between the military and an extremist organization. Gideon made a complaint to high-ranking officers, but his request for an investigation was shut down by his superiors. But having lived for his country for almost half his life, he followed his gut feeling and defied them, taking off with his unit to covertly investigate one of the enemy encampments to find the trail of how the weapons and supplies were being handed to the terrorist organization. After infiltrating the camp and taking samples, pictures, and video evidence, they left through a secure route without a single casualty. But it's as if the terrorist group already knew. They were ambushed during their return and killed the entire team of soldiers. Gideon was the only survivor after seeing the crewmates that he served with getting killed in front of his eyes. 2 of his soldiers sacrificed themselves just to create a route for his escape, and since that day, he lived with the trauma and guilt of leading his people to their deaths. After he returned to the base with the proof of the military weapons being stolen and sold to enemies, and to make sure that his comrades didn't die in vain, the whole thing turned upside down. Instead of working to root out the traitors, Gideon stood with gunshot wounds on his left shoulders and right knees while being questioned by the military court. Despite providing the proof, The judges dismissed it as fabricated evidence without even proof-checking. Officer Gideon St. John, you have been recused of your duty as of this moment. Your disregard for your superiors in command, then leading your unit into an enemy encampment without evidence or approval of higher-ranking officers, resulting in their deaths is a grave crime," said one of the 3 judges. "You will serve 2 years in the military jail after this court-martial. You will be dishonorably discharged from the service along with the forfeiture of pay and allowances," spoke another judge. "No, this is wrong. I'm the victim here," shouted Gideon. "We have traitors among our ranks who are selling our weapons to the terrorists just to fill their own pockets," he pleaded to the judges. But no one acknowledged his words, and even his own defense lawyer didn't say anything. Despite his struggle, Gideon was put in confinement before being transferred to military jail. As he was contemplating where things went wrong, a man in uniform appeared. This man was Khan, his superior to whom Gideon reported the findings to in the first place. "You idiot! I hate overzealous patriots like you the most. Do you not understand the simple thing, you idiot?" spoke Khan coldly. "I was one of the people who was secretly shipping off the weapons and ammo in the name of patrolling units at the border. But I wasn't the only one. There are plenty of people higher above me," he stated shamelessly. "And your entire trial was just a facade, because the prosecutor, the judges, and even your own lawyer are part of the system. You would have made just good money if you kept your mouth shut." He spoke in a mocking tone. "But no, you had to be the righteous soldier," spoke Khan in a condescending tone. "We now live in a world where wars are not waged for the protection of the people or the country. Even in the old times, wars rarely occurred for the good of the people or to protect them. War for religion, country, or whatever reason you give. They always happen for profits," he iterated sternly. "In old times, it used to be mainly for the land or the resources. Nowadays, they happen for the money that these corporations who run the government want. Because we need a justification to tax the people in the name of war, while we kill innocents from the enemy nation and spend a shitload of money on the weapons made by these very corporations using the taxpayers' money. And this is where we send idiots like you to die on the borders," spoke Khan with a grin, having no sense of honor. "The men and women of our great nation's army are just disposable vermins, sent to fight a war that does not affect us or serves the benefit of the population. And people like you die for it while people like me who run the system profit off your blood," he declared in a conceited tone. "That is how our sweet capitalism works. You should have just become one of us instead of trying to blow the whistle. At least that way your crewmates wouldn't have died." He spoke with an evil smile. "You did this?" asked Gideon as he realized that something was amiss. "Yes, I did. It was me who informed those terrorists about your arrival. Sadly, you survived and here we are. Alas, it makes no difference," iterated Khan solemnly. "You bastard! I'm gonna kill you," said Gideon in a rageful tone. TCH, how are you going to do that while behind bars?" asked Khan mockingly. "No matter how long it takes, the day I get out will be the day your clock starts ticking," declared Gideon, his eyes filled with pure hatred and thirst for revenge. "Ha ha ha ha! You're really slow, aren't you? Did you think you were going to jail just because you defied the military high command? A dishonorable discharge and stripping off your rank would have been enough in such a case. But no. The judges who sent you to the jail did it for a reason," revealed Khan. "Because you're not coming back after 3 years. You barely have 3 days left until we bury you in the ground." He revealed their evil plan. Gideon turned furious and yelled at Khan, cursing him names and swearing an oath to seek vengeance for his dead comrades. Khan then got out of the holding facility and looked at the sunset. Ah, this pretentious bastard with protagonist syndrome. Even in his worst dreams, he sees himself as the righteous one and a victim of circumstances. "Well, not that I care," spoke Khan as he left with a smile. 2 days later, while being transferred to the military prison, Gideon was shot dead by the very marshals who were escorting him, and then the case was closed by saying that Gideon tried to flee during the transport. In the following days, Numerous incidents and documents regarding his abuse of power, harassment of female officers in his unit, and embezzlement of military funds came to light. In this life, Gideon, the patriot who fought and lost his soldiers for the sake of his country, was branded as a traitor, a deserter, and died as a corrupt officer. He died the most shameful and unfair death, as the higher-ups made him the fall guy to cover their corruption. After thousands of such scenarios came to be and Gideon lived a different life in all of them, he felt like he was living multiple lives and perspectives of different people, as if they were his own lives in different times and different worlds. And in every single one of them, he was tortured and suffered in numerous ways, as Khan was the great evil who always destroyed his life. In most of them, his loved ones were dying, and he was helpless to protect them. He was sometimes the monster who killed his own family. Sometimes he was betrayed by a lover or a friend, and sometimes he devoted his life for his nation, but was sold to enemies because he knew too much. In these different lives, Gideon was living every possible worst-case scenario. Because of the dragon magic that Khan used with the rune he imprinted on Anakin's head, the hero of time was living an unending nightmare. In just 10 minutes, the hero of time lived thousands of lives and endless possibilities, to the point he couldn't tell whether he was living in the past, present, or the original timeline from the future. This wasn't done by the current Khan, who was still finding his purpose and place in Vantria, but by the future Khan, who was as many times stronger and ruthless after being hardened by battles against powerful foes in the future. In many of these dreams, future Khan showed Anakin many realities where the hero of time had come out as the final victor, lived a fulfilling life, and even won the war against the demon god. But in the end, it was always Khan who destroyed everything and took all his glory and accomplishments, and even turned him into the villain that the entire world despised. Through this process, Khan was mentally scarring the hero of time, turning him into a schizophrenic who was constantly in a time loop, reliving the same memories and repeating actions. After an hour passed in the real world, finally, hero of time turned brain dead. "All right, the job is done," spoke future Khan. Khan then took out Gideon's space ring and took one of the golden glowing orbs out of it. This golden orb seemed to carry a vast amount of world energy and a transcendent essence that he had never seen or felt before. This was what all the empires sent their heroes to Babylon for: an apple of Eden. Khan just took one of the apples of Eden while intentionally leaving one for some reason. "All right, the urgent matter is settled," spoke future Khan and heaved a sigh. "Now it is time to complete the overdue task," he declared and closed his eyes. Finally, the future Khan entered his mental world. In here, he faced someone adorning a dark gray long coat. And the one that stood before him, who watched this entire battle with the hero of time, was a familiar man. Because now was the time for the face-off between present Khan and future Khan. A silence ensued in a completely white plane of existence, aka Khan's inner world, as the future Khan faced the present Khan, who was now staring at him with a feeling of trepidation. Both of them were now in their soul forms, and given the density of their auras, the future Khan seemed more stronger and firmer by at least 2 times than the current Khan. And now, the current Khan's countenance turned serious as he asked, "Tell me about everything that happened in the future." The future Khan then summoned a couple of comfortable, luxurious thrones, while the dragon behind him rested on the supposed white floor. "Have a seat. This is going to take a while," said future Khan. After both of them sat, casually leaning off against the throne, and folded their right leg over the other and rested their face on the right palm while relying on the armrest for support, completely mirroring each other. "I guess some habits are common regardless of the timeline," said future Khan. Soon, he summoned a red archaic rune in between them that hovered in the air, resembling that of a fluttering lotus, while multiple branching runes kept spreading and retracting on their own. "This is the transcendent rune of reminiscence. It has been the reason why I was able to come to the past, and it has been on your back ever since God of Darkness sent you to Vantria," iterated future Khan with a casual smile. "It is one of the 5 transcendent runes created by gods. This one is particularly created by God of Time himself. Back in the original timeline, God of Time gave an archaic incantation to Hero of Time which would help him come back in time in case he failed to kill the demon god. It went against the rules set by other gods, but the god of time simply didn't care even if he had to cheat given what was on stake. He explained. The current Khan nodded and asked the future him, "Then how did you use it?" To his query, the martial emperor responded, "After my fight with the hero of time, which is about to happen 10 years from now, I ended up killing him. But before his death, this bastard pulled this dirty trick that went against the rules agreed by the gods. However, in the original timeline, I acquired a skill that granted me the effects of reading a dead person's memories. A necromancer whom I met in the original timeline taught me this skill after finding out my identity as the hero of darkness. It was one of my aces that no one knew about. From his memories, I found that his original name was Gideon Melvinger. He was a bastard son of a noble who pretty much had the story of a standard weak to strong genre protagonist of a novel. And he hated that name after being summoned in Vantria as hero, so he changed it to Anakin since it reminded him of his weak old self. But that's not important information for us, so we'll skip that." He spoke nonchalantly. After learning about the spell, instead of absorbing his divine key instantly, I devised a plan to overturn his move in our favor. Explained the martial emperor. This rune was something that was engraved on Hero of Time's core since divine abilities were imprinted on his soul, and it would not be able to bear the burden of this rune as well when he was chosen by God of Time and summoned into Vantria. So the two main requirements were the archaic spell incantation and the core. Revealed future Khan. By reading his memories, I learned the spell and created a ritual to use his core to perform the same spell, and also used the transcendent rune of reminiscence along with it, since I wasn't the hero of time myself. Hero of Time came to 10 years in time instead of 5 because the spell wasn't performed in a perfect and orderly manner. It sent him to his most suitable time, which is the same as Conclave of Heroes for you. Revealed future Khan on how the Hero of Time managed to ambush him exactly during the Conclave of Heroes. "How does it work?" asked the current Khan. As the name explains itself, Transcendent Rune of Reminiscence allows you to remember your memories. But since it was created by the God of Time, it transcends the flow of time itself. For example, using this rune, both Hero of Time and I came back in the past. But if there is a need and everything is planned properly, one can even travel to the future. Revealed the martial emperor. All it needs is the divine key, aka the core, to exist in the future as well. As long as the host is alive, the memories can be sent to the future even if the timeline itself is altered, like the one we have now. You can travel in both the past and future regardless of the changes in the flow of time or events diverging from their original intended path. The future Khan revealed the real truth about the Transcendent Rune of Reminiscence, that it didn't just cover the past but future as well. This dragon you see here is the one who sealed both of us inside the Transcendent Rune. For him, his original body came with me, but for me it was only the soul and my memories. He explained in detail. But the problem was that using the Transcendent Rune came with conditions. That it couldn't be activated until I came in contact with Hero of Time, the original host of the Divine Key where the rune was imprinted in the past. So it would only activate when the Hero of Time made physical contact with me. I mean us. He iterated solemnly. And then, I chose the time of my summoning right before God of Darkness and Cravel entered the world boundary. I told them what happened in the future and how the future versions of ourselves planned to negate the danger of Hero of Time coming back, since his primary goal was to kill me with the knowledge of the future events. Also, I explained a few events and how things were changed to both of them. Revealed the martial emperor. After hearing his words, the current Khan was not only stunned but absolutely gobsmacked. "So you were with me, watching me since the moment I was summoned in this world?" he asked with a bewildered countenance. "Yes, but not only that, I have been living this new life as well. Because in the end, you and I are the same person with the same soul," explained the future Khan. "The only difference is that you were the one in charge of our every action and decision we made in this timeline, while I was simply a spectator who could not do anything to help you or influence your mind in any way," iterated the future Khan in a stern voice. "Then how come I never noticed your existence?" asked current Khan. "Because two of the same person from different timelines cannot exist or control the body at the same time. And since I was sealed inside the Transcendent Rune, I had no other choice but to watch until the hero of time came for us," explained the martial emperor. "Oh, but I did take over the body once and saved us from certain death," spoke the future Khan with a prideful smirk. "What? When?" asked Khan, simply stupefied from disbelief. To his befuddled countenance and the question, the future Khan revealed when he had appeared for the first time in the new timeline. "When that undead lich killed you inside the Brahmner dungeon." Khan was left dumbfounded after learning that not only the future Khan had been with him, watching him and also living the exact same life as him in the new timeline, but he also once took over the body in order to save current Khan's life. "Let me show you a flashback," spoke future Khan. Snap. He snapped his fingers and soon, the surroundings of Khan's inner world changed and turned into a dusty black cave where a battle between Khan and Ajax, the undead lich with the Dark Summoner class, had just managed to kill the current timeline's Khan. Ha! How are his summoned creatures still alive? They should have disintegrated after the death of the caster, spoke the floor boss with a puzzled voice. Boom! A ginormous and ground-shattering burst of dense and chaotic black aura exploded in this cave, and suddenly, the pressure that could even destroy steel filled the surrounding. This time, it was the lich who found itself unable to move. The insurmountable dark and purple energy that was exuded by the undead lich was completely subdued under this black aura that filled the entire cave. Hundreds of cracks formed in the surrounding walls and the ceiling, almost enough for this entire place to crumble like dust. And the source of this horrifying and domineering aura appeared in front of the undead lich as it flew towards it. The undead lich, for the first time decades of its life, shuddered and trembled in fear as it saw the being that appeared in front of it. A 5-meter-tall and completely black demonic figure with vertical red eyes as if they were from the pits of hell gazed at the lich. A tangible black and never-ending aura of death and destruction surrounded this being in the form of black fire that was raised from its body. The creature floated in the air and approached the Dark Summoner, and just with a wave of its hand, the demonic figure broke past the impenetrable dark barrier that was unbreakable till this point. Swoosh! The dark barrier faded into nothingness as the demonic figure appeared in front of the lich. A majestic and ancient voice filled this entire cave and echoed in every single corner of this dungeon floor itself. "Give me more. Feed me more. I want all of it," commanded this ancient and domineering figure. "Impossible!" shouted the undead after mustering all of its strength. Grab! The demonic being grabbed the lich by its skull, and suddenly, the dark aura this undead previously emitted started flowing toward the hand that was grabbing its skull. "No! Release me!" roared the undead as it was no longer able to move under this aura from the demonic figure. It could feel that the dark energy inside its body, or more accurately its bones, was now being absorbed by this creature. The once vast and immeasurable dark energy that resided in its body was being sucked out by this black figure like a voracious beast eating meat after starving for decades. "You shall become a part of me," spoke the demonic figure in a grim and ghastly voice. Just in a matter of minutes, the dark magic and the aura completely disappeared from Lich's body, and was completely engulfed by this demonic creature. Finally, the lich lost the light inside its skull and died without being able to put up any resistance, having the tables turned on it. The demonic figure, however, descended on the ground and threw away the skeleton of this floor boss. It slowly started reducing its height, and the dark fire around its body started diminishing little by little. When the black body of the demonic figure finally disappeared and revealed the body of a 6 feet 3 inches tall young human, a handsome yet mysterious face appeared. The young man being none other than Khan, who finally regained his consciousness again. "Snap! You have made some very dumb choices in this timeline, even dumber than mine in the original timeline, all because of your overconfidence," spoke future Khan in an admonishing tone. "This form of mine was called Abyss Sentinel. That was a failsafe I created in case you died before even meeting the hero of time in this timeline. And coincidentally, it was a darkness elemental necromancer who killed you," iterated future Khan with a disappointed gaze. "I hadn't invoked the Hero of Darkness title in the original timeline and didn't know what was the exact condition either. But fortunately, you managed to gain another powerful ace under your arsenal because of me," he stated in a firm tone. However, his countenance turned serious. "Talking about dumb choices, you've caused a much bigger ruckus than I did in the original timeline. Not one, but you screwed over 3 empires," spoke Future Khan. "When I left the Rocco's empire, it was due to the group of those saints tasked with hunting me, finding my location. Most of them tried to create a diversion, and all 7th stage faction leader saints interfered on the border. While the Empire was keen on defending their borders against the mysterious attackers whose intentions were unclear to the powerhouses of the Rocco's empire, one of them infiltrated the Empire and nearly killed me. I was only a 1st stage saint and survived only because Rathnar took over my body for some time and killed the 3rd stage saint who cornered me." The Future Khan revealed a vital event of the original timeline. "After that, I have been mostly on my own, hiding in different empires, hoping that the group won't find me, until I met him," he said, and pointed at the dragon who was carefree sleeping while coiling around the Future Khan's throne. "One more thing. Looks like God of Nature gave you a favor and allowed you to pass," said the Future Khan. "What do you mean?" asked Current Khan, confused by this revelation. "Did you truly think that Venerable Ugwe had no reason to let you pass without revealing your identity? Do you believe that he let it pass solely because of what he saw in his divinations?" asked the martial emperor with a coy smile. Khan's mouth opened wide and his expression turned full of disbelief. "No, because it was the God of Nature who showed him those divinations and allowed you to come to the conclave of heroes," revealed the Future Khan. "And why would the God of Nature help me of all people?" asked Current Khan to his future self. "To thank you," responded the Future Khan. "Thank me for what?" queried Khan. "For saving Maximus' life in this timeline," iterated Future Khan. "What? How? I never saved his life from certain death? Even during this conclave, he would have easily survived on his own," said Current Khan, trying to understand why the almighty God of Nature made his passage to the conclave of heroes possible. "You did. You just didn't know it," replied Future Khan. "And how did I do that?" asked Current Khan, still unable to grasp the whole situation. To his genuinely curious query, the Future Khan revealed why even a god from an enemy faction decided to help him. By killing the hero of fire. The Future Khan made a grand revelation to the Current Khan that his decision to kill the hero of fire, Axel Lobthrox, saved the life of Maximus Gladius, the hero of nature. This information left the Current Khan asunder in shock as he stared at Future Khan with eyes full of disbelief. "Whether intentional or not, the bonus point is you killed that bastard Axel Lobthrox. He was such a pain to deal with even for me because of his divine abilities. On top of it, you befriended Princess Vanessa and kept the heavy host Siegfried, the emperor of the Vulcan Empire, alive in this timeline." He revealed another major event of the original timeline. "If I had them as my allies, there would have been a perfect balance of power in my timeline during the Great War," he iterated and let out a deep sigh. "What do you mean? What happened in the original timeline?" asked Khan with a confused countenance. "Emperor Heavy Hose Siegfried died under unknown circumstances back then. But now I know that he was killed by the Church of Hetrax, led by Pope Demiurges. They kidnapped his children and lured him to Flame Killer formation. Soon after his death, both of his sons, Victor and Rogies, were found dead under suspicious circumstances. With the emperor and both the princes dead, Vanessa became the official heir to the throne," revealed Future Khan with a thoughtful expression. "Axel married Vanessa, and with the help of the Church of Hetrax, later he gained support of the 6 Fireborn clans by marrying their heiresses, and finally, he became the emperor of the Vulcan Empire. And since Axel also succeeded in Limit Break and had both Apples of Eden since he was the hero and also became the emperor, it took him only 6 years and become a 7th stage saint after I left the Vulcan Empire," explained Future Khan. "That bastard killed too many people later, including Maximus, who was one of my few friends among the heroes and some of my helpers from the cult of Darkborn," said Future Khan somberly. "Wait, you met the cult of Darkborn?" asked Current Khan. "Yes. Some of them had been hiding in the Vulcan and Zivit Empire from decades, instilled as spies by the person Master Romulus told you about. They were hiding there to find me after my existence became known to the world. He revealed. Only now did Khan remember about this person who sent his master Romulus and made the latter to train Khan in the first place. His identity, Khan had no idea even to this day. Honestly, if I had fought the Hero of Fire during my stay in the Vulcan Empire in the original timeline, I would have died for certain. Admitted the future Khan. Alas, many things have happened differently already. He spoke in a stern voice. Such as? Asked Khan. The biggest deviating factor here is our mentor Vildred Zivsergaun Ivar Mortalix, the Lightning Dragon Emperor. Revealed future Khan. In my timeline, he was controlled by Emperor Aragorn Travian in Salar Venric of the Elven Empire. My guess is he conquered the Immortal Dungeon and passed the trials of the Commandment of Fellowship, and became Vildred's master. Back then, Hero of Life was married to Princess Eleanor, the one you helped Aragorn kill in this timeline. Stated future Khan. One after another, he dropped many surprising bombs about the events of the original timeline. In the end, Aragorn killed Eleanor using the Dragon Emperor because of what she did to him using the Commandment of Severed Fate forbidden spell. But a few years later, after the Conclave of Heroes, the truth was revealed and he was killed by Ervelyn Baslark, the Hero of Life. And lastly, Vildred was then bound to the Hero of Life due to the Commandment of Fellowship, which dictated that the one who kills the Master becomes the new Master. Revealed future Khan. This turn of events shocked current Khan even more because not just the Vulcan Empire, but also the fate of the Zivid Empire was changed because of Khan's inadvertent intervention. In the original timeline, Vildred was neither a friend nor a mentor. He was a dangerous foe no hero or heroine dared to actively fight. Not even that battle maniac called the Hero of Lightning. Because Vildred was one opponent neither he nor other heroes could beat. Even I could barely survive with my divine abilities against someone like him. So one of the biggest adversaries from the original timeline and Hero of Life's biggest aces is now your ally and mentor. You practically stole his destiny. Declared future Khan. There were many incidents in this timeline that you have affected significantly whether you want it or not. He spoke solemnly. Whether it was becoming the sovereign of Verlassen or about causing the social reform regarding the class structure across the Rakos Empire, changing the fate of the human species in the Vulcan Empire by helping Vanessa host Siegfried, saving both the princess and the emperor and turning them into your allies, killing the Hero of Fire and saving Maximus' life even if you had no idea about the future, helping Aragorn kill Eleanor before she even married the Hero of Life, while making it look like the work of the Beast Empire. You have changed the fate of 3 empires already. Said future Khan as if he was praising the current Khan. However, there is one empire you didn't screw over in any way but saved it from destruction. As a result of you killing the Hero of Fire, you have also saved the entire Beast Empire from imminent destruction. Spoke future Khan. What? How does that make sense? Asked current Khan with a stunned expression. Because after Maximus died, the balance of power during the war between the Demon Empire and others who served gods and goddesses also shifted. Do you remember Gideon talking to you about those apples of Eden and how the emperors and empresses of these empires pledged their allegiances and served the said god's doctrine? Asked future Khan. Yes. He said that in return, they received one apple of Eden and then the right to cultivate themselves inside Babylon to become a peak saint once they break through to 9th stage saint rank. Replied the current Khan. In his act of hubris, the Hero of Time mentioned this information before their fight started and thus, future Khan also mentioning it made the current Khan turn serious. With Maximus dead, killed by Hero of Fire in an ambush, Empress Kali no longer had a reason to support the god of nature in the Great War. Because even with the apple in her hands, the Great War would have ended the world and she would never have enough time to reach peak saint rank at all. Iterated future Khan with a cold expression. And since the Nader Empire lost their hero, the Bastion who was supposed to be the representative of the will of their god, she did something that broke the balance of the war. Spoke future Khan with grim countenance as he declared the major turn of events in the original timeline. She joined the demon god. Khan was left sundered after learning that the Empress of the Beast Empire had sided with the demon god after Maximus' death in the original timeline, the one he prevented in this new timeline by killing the hero of fire without knowing how his actions would affect the future. What bullshit! She was that ruthless? How come she joined the demon god just because Maximus died? Isn't the demon god literally going to end the world? Asked Khan with a befuddled countenance. Ah, you wouldn't know, I guess. At this point in your life, you still haven't been pulled into the matters of empires and gods as a chosen hero. Remember, the chosen heroes and heroines aren't just the representatives of the gods, but they also represent the empires that serve these gods and goddesses. Both are mutually dependent on each other because no civilization would fight a war unless offered some grand motive for it. Like wars in the name of religion or God. Nobody can rile up an entire empire's population for a war that would decide their fates just with words, even if you're an emperor or empress. Iterated Future Khan. Think of this as a crusade, like a holy war between the forces of the good and evil. Heroes do the job of representing the will of the gods, and whether we like it or not, having a chosen warrior sent by the gods does a damn good job of giving hope and strength to the soldiers when on the battlefield. That's something a simple cause for survival can't accomplish, because deep down, people seek their own well-being rather than care for the future of the empire. It brings them to despair and uncertainty about life, which eats them away from the inside. An army like that will crumble from within before the battle even begins, and you will have people cowering in their boots instead of warriors believing that even their sacrifice will have a greater purpose in the grand scheme of gods than just dying a nameless death without any meaning to it. Explained the future Khan about the psychology about great wars. The current Khan also understood the meaning of those words because even on Earth, there had been many wars that had similar history throughout many millennia. As for Kali's decision to join Demon God instead, it wasn't necessarily wrong or evil as per se. Given those circumstances, many other empires and their emperors or empresses would have done the same. It was a very pragmatic choice from her point of view as the leader of an empire. Iterated the martial emperor. However, in the very next moment, his entire countenance turned grim. But as a result, our master Romulus Lycaeus tried to stop her. In the end, Master Romulus killed Kali Adicitia during the trial by combat. Being once a former member of the 8th Hero of Darkness Party as well as an experienced leader, his main priority was to kill the demon god and not aid the demon emperor in any way. And he rightfully won the title as the next emperor of the Nader Empire. He revealed, "Isn't that a good thing? How did I change the fate of the Beast Empire then?" Asked current Khan. That's what I thought too back then. But the world doesn't operate on our convenience or as we plan. Instead of stopping the empire from forming an alliance with the demon empire during the Great War, it ended up causing a civil war, as all the other heavenly kings who usually followed the Beast Empire's customs now had no reason to stay their hand. Most of them suddenly chose to act upon their ambitions given that Maximus was dead. Kali too had died, and they were without a grand purpose to fight the war itself. As a result, the Nader Empire ended up splitting between 4 regions under the 4 heavenly kings. Said Future Khan with a sense of regret. And using this opportunity, the Elven Empire and the Vulcan Empire, who joined hands later with Ervelin and Axel as their emperors, attacked the divided Beast Empire. At least half of the population died, and only the regions under the Heavenly King of Fire, Master Romulus, and the Heavenly King of Light, Halder, remained. Revealed the Future Khan. Shock! Now current Khan understood how his actions affected the fate of Beast Empire. At that time, I was only a 7th stage saint who was still making a name for myself and had just established myself as the emperor of the Rakos Empire. He iterated sternly. But my involvement in the Great War was simply too late. Because I wasn't allied with any of the other empires and couldn't help Master Romulus, because not only Rakos Empire didn't share any borders with the remainder of the Nader Empire, but his connection to me would have given others justification to massacre the rest of what remained of the Beast Empire. Explained the martial emperor with an incredulous countenance. All the heroes did join hands once for the namesake, and I too fought against the demon emperor. Among all the other heroes, I was the only one who was equally matched with him. Given that I fought only using my martial arts and was the emperor of Rakos Empire, I soon gained the moniker of Martial Emperor as the whole world had now finally learned about Khan Salvatore, the hero of darkness. Revealed future Khan in a stoic voice. But when I killed the hero of time many years later, the situation of the war was far more severe. Because Axel, the hero of fire, was originally a demonic creature from his original world. He then joined with the demon god too and received powers just like the demon emperor. He revealed. This was a sudden revelation that made current Khan open his mouth in shock. One hero was dead, an empress was dead, and one hero joined the demon god at the crucial time. Khan could imagine the impact of these events on the Great War. At that time, many years had passed and I hunted down all of those saints from that group. Using their cores, I turned into a peak 8th stage saint myself. If this bastard Gideon hadn't tried to kill me just because of his ego, my next target was going to be Axel. Explained the Martial Emperor. And do mind, at my peak, I was the only hero who fought against the demon god himself and still barely survived while 6 heroes and heroines were killed by him in a single day. Revealed future Khan. Flabbergasted. At this point, the current Khan was simply too stunned to even react. If I'm not wrong, you have saved more than 8 billion lives because of your actions in the Vulcan Empire, Zivid Empire, and the Nader Empire. The social reform in the Rocco's Empire because you faked your death was just a cherry on top. Spoke future Khan in an almost praising voice. The most favorable outcome was you meeting a royal dragon like Master Vildred. Without even meaning it, you not only saved billions of lives but also created many allies that I would have never managed to do in the original timeline. Spoke future Khan. Even so, despite messing around a lot, you made many decisions differently and better than me. Although very risky, you came out triumphant from many of the life and death situations. Good things you have abilities I didn't have. Stated future Khan calmly. What do you mean? You're me from the future, right? Asked Khan, slightly confused. Yes, I am. But unlike you, replied future Khan and made another grand revelation. I did not choose those 3 divine abilities. The future Khan just revealed the unexpected fact that he, in fact, did not choose the 3 divine abilities that current Khan chose in this timeline. What do you mean that you did not choose these 3? And why? Asked Khan with a bewildered and shocked countenance. In the original timeline, I chose different divine abilities after the God of Darkness told me why no other hero or heroine before me chose them. Because choosing those 3 together would have been no different than committing suicide. Iterated future Khan sternly. What? How can they be so lethal to even a chosen hero? Asked Khan, puzzled to his core. Since you still haven't noticed the dangers of having these 3 divine abilities together. So let me explain to you. Spoke future Khan and his face turned serious. Ability absorption doesn't have any drawbacks on its own, but the problem is that more different abilities and bloodlines you absorb to gain their skills, powers, and bloodline effects, the more imbalance it would cause in your body as well as your mana circulation even before you become a saint. After becoming a saint, the prominent and the strongest bloodline will take over the others or try to destroy them by either expelling them from your body or by causing mutations that would nullify them. However, as a result, your own body will suffer in the long term and some of your organs might get permanently damaged. He stated, What? Doesn't that mean I could have died long ago with some sort of severe illness? Asked Khan, dumbfounded. The future Khan raised his right palm and stopped Khan from speaking again. Obviously, if you had an entire empire providing you with the best resources, monsters to absorb abilities, and powerful beings such as someone with the primordial Titan bloodline, then it would be an amazing divine ability. But that wasn't the case for me since I was going to be hunted since the day of my arrival. And neither was there anyone who could create a catalog of monsters, their abilities and bloodlines for me. Also, even if no one was hunting me, no empire would willingly sacrifice the lives of their semi-saints and saints just so the summoned hero or heroine could absorb their abilities. Not only because these saints were obviously better fighters and masters of their skills, but the battle experience and the standing they had in the empire was far more powerful to make them a sacrificial lamb for a hero. So considering the growth factor and potential alone, it would be limited later unless the hero somehow miraculously learned and perfected those powerful skills, abilities and bloodlines on their own in mere years, the kind that took decades for these saints to master themselves. Even in my case, this was not worth the risk. So I too rejected them just like all the other heroes before me. Explained Future Khan. As for synthesis divine ability, it shines a lot with the ability to merge different skills and even create new subordinates from the corpses in the description. But the demerit is that it also relies on the bloodlines and also physical stats and elemental affinities of the user. For example, you remember that there was a restriction about you being unable to create subordinates based on levels, right? Unless the original subjects you killed were already of higher level and rank, the resultant won't be stronger than you. He asked. Khan nodded as the future him continued. As time goes by, the subordinates you create would also affect you, the user, because all of them would need different levels of control based on things such as your mana supply, your physical stats, your mastery of spells in a particular element, and your own elemental affinity. In our case, I was the hero of darkness. So not a single one of my subordinates would have any other element than darkness, and all their skills would be related to that particular element. On paper, it doesn't sound alarming, but in practicality, it's like cutting off your own feet with your own hands. The effects would be extremely limiting, and even the classes you choose would have to be related to the darkness element. Like a necromancer or a dark crusader class. Based on the god you represented, synthesis would have chained you down to that particular element for your entire life. And that is why it was left untouched by all the heroes that came before us. He explained why no hero, including himself, chose the synthesis divine ability. And lastly, the dimensional law divine ability. You yourself know how hard it was to unlock and how many others would have failed to even gain the second enlightenment in the space law. It's not like I even need to go deep and explain why it wouldn't work in 99 out of 100 cases. Spoke Future Khan casually. But then why did you say that it would be no different than committing suicide by choosing them? Asked Current Khan suspiciously. Because when you combine all three of them, you're most likely to die by imbalance of many factors. Ability absorption would force different bloodlines into your body, many of which will keep fighting them inside and would end up raising your blood toxicity. Consider it like blood cancer, an incurable one for certain. On top of it, among all the prominent species in Vantria, humans stand at the bottom when it comes to innate abilities and bloodline effects or powers. Out of 1 billion people, hardly 30 to 40 can become saints in their lifetime. Do you think a human like you would have been able to absorb and survive from the effects of those monster bloodlines just because you were from another world? Asked Future Khan mockingly. Then synthesis would restrict your path with subordinates compatibility and the abilities you would merge. In simple terms, not only do you get a thin thread to move forward as a warrior, but you also can't use your legs. So you won't have any other choice but to use your hands to crawl like a snail, limiting your growth rate even if you were a hero. Finally, you have achieved the third enlightenment in dimensional law and created a cosmic body of your own using the Lin chip of the multiverse as a source. Do you think that form can be achieved by any normal human even if they were saints in this world? That's not possible even for a chosen hero, because even if their soul might be many times stronger than the living beings of Vantria, the body, aka the vessel, is simply too weak and lacks bloodline effects to sustain such forms of energy such as the cosmic ether. You might have simply exploded after containing it in your body even if you were a chosen hero or a powerful saint. Explained Future Khan why this was a deadly combination to choose these three divine abilities together. Then how come I'm still alive? Asked Khan, astonished by his foolishness but also curious about his survival until now. Hey, give me some credit. Did you think I would return to the past without a plan? Asked Future Khan with a prideful tone. As contradicting as it may sound, the lethal combination of these three were the only ones with the advantage of increasing chances to kill the demon god in the end. But this time, knowing how my mind worked in the past and the memories of the original timeline, I planned everything. He stated. Do you mean? Asked Khan with a baffled countenance as a sense of realization washed over him. Yes, you did not choose your divine abilities on your own accord, and neither did you trick anyone. After I returned to the past through the rune of reminiscence, I told God of Darkness to hide the divine abilities I chose in the original timeline because we as Elric would have still chosen those in this timeline as well if the option was available. Although they made me incredibly stronger in the end, They were not the ones I needed to win this war. Explained Future Khan and continued with a smirk. I and this dragon beside me chose them for you. He spoke in a stoic voice. Also, as Elric, you didn't trick God of Darkness and Cravel at all. He didn't give you those 3 divine abilities as a desperate move, and neither did Cravel gave you his blessings and gifts because you questioned his loyalty as a way to piss him off. That was already planned by us since the very beginning. Otherwise, how could you, a normal accountant and a buffoon who was played by a petty girl on Earth, could trick a god who lived for billions of years, along with a deity who once nearly achieved world domination? He asked with a disappointed gaze. I remember vividly how my mind worked as Elric, thinking that I was too much of a smart-ass and knew the potential of these 3 divine abilities better than God of Darkness himself. He iterated with discontent. No one was an oblivious idiot who couldn't see the potential of these divine abilities. As a matter of fact, God of Darkness and Cravel were intentionally acting like fools, making you think that you somehow tricked them into getting the best divine abilities, blessings, and gifts. And just because you read plenty of those novels, mangas, played games, watched TV shows and movies, you thought everything was happening as per your wish, said Future Khan sarcastically. At this moment, Khan realized how stupid and naive he was to think that he literally scammed God of Darkness and Cravel into giving him the best start after being reincarnated into Vantria. It was just a simple plan created by the Future Khan, acted by God of Darkness and Cravel as the fools who fell for Khan's scam. But in reality, the biggest fool and the obvious clown was Khan himself. Wait, then how come I'm still alive even now? Asked Khan. The answer to that lies in something I and God of Darkness created. And what you call as, replied Future Khan majestically as he revealed the main reason current Khan was still alive. The system. After revealing how the combination of the 3 divine abilities could have killed the current Khan, the Future Khan revealed the secret card that he created, namely, the system. Despite all those risks and uncertainty of you dying due to the aftereffects of the 3 divine abilities that you were bound to have, there was only one way left to circumvent it and prolong your survival until the Conclave of Heroes. Declared Future Khan. You may not believe this, but my ability to read the memories of the dead came from the God of Darkness himself, he stated firmly. Although it happened only after I awakened my divine key, it was something that often helped me not only to succeed in my goals, but also helped me redirect my actions to ensure my survival. Look at us, for example. I would not be here if I hadn't read Anakin's memories and acquired the archaic spell God of Time gave him. He iterated confidently. God of Darkness has the record of every being that lived and died, their powers, abilities, appearance, bloodlines, and physiological structure. He is the death itself, and all he had to do was gather the information through the memories of the dead souls in the eternal abyss. Explained the martial emperor. Then I, the future version of you, who had the memories from Earth and knew how this whole thing in various media worked, created the interface which you call the system. An interface that compartmentalized everything based on mana, physical stats, bloodlines, skills description, abilities, laws of the reality, elements of nature, ranks of monsters, fighting classes, weapons, armors, and everything that was to know about Vantria. He spoke in a smug voice. After he gave me what was needed, similar to an artificial intelligence, I created simulations and an adaptability interface which would respond to you like a program similar to that of those system novels and MMORPG stories where things based on your choices of these 3 divine abilities would be explained. He iterated even more shamelessly. But the main purpose was always to balance out and not absorb anything that could be harmful to you in the long run. Not a single one of the abilities that you absorbed from anything you killed, whether it was just a fighting technique or a bloodline, was taken from the outside sources, assimilated inside your body for more than necessary. The system made sure that everything was balanced without you suffering any repercussions until you at least became a saint. Revealed Future Khan. Also, I took that risk knowing you would follow my footsteps of raiding the Bromner dungeon and get the Metamorphosis bloodline that would help you balance these bloodlines. Moreover, I kind of gambled on the fact that you would try to absorb the Jatvorian monster and get the legendary rank Metamorphosis bloodline after entering the Vulcan Empire, so that it would keep you alive until the Conclave of Heroes at least. He spoke in a coy tone. So you took such a big risk based on simple gut feeling? If I hadn't absorbed the Metamorphosis bloodline, I would be long dead before even becoming a saint," asked Khan, a bit pissed off, because the future him played such a huge game of probability which could have risked his life in the new timeline. "Hey, we may be from different timelines, but we have the same personality as far as money and greed for new powers are concerned. I did not create the system based on a hunch alone. I also used my memories to make the best use of encounters I had with several monsters and their abilities that would help me survive in the new timeline," explained the Martial Emperor. On top of it, Cravel wasn't even present in the world boundary when God of Darkness chose me as his hero in the original timeline. I made him come there just so he could offer his blessings and gifts to you as his apostle in the new timeline," revealed future Khan. He did not make the current Khan choose the 3 divine abilities and made the war deity give him various blessings without purpose, and knowing how the encounters of the original timeline would end up helping him survive, he basically paved the way for Khan. The future Khan built the road so current Khan could walk on it. After some time of contemplating, the current Khan absorbed this fact and spoke somberly. "I have noticed that you referred to Elric as if he is a different person. It's as if you are ashamed to be called by our original name. Why is that?" asked Khan sternly. This was a fact he noticed throughout their conversation so far, and future Khan always mentioned Elric Johnson from a third-person perspective. To this sudden question, the future Khan was quite taken aback and turned his head around as if he was anxious and also disheartened. It's not something I'm proud of. We may be the same person, but we have lived different lives if I'm to be honest," spoke future Khan with an incredulous countenance as if he didn't want to talk about it. "This new timeline, for me, coming back in time was also an opportunity to correct some mistakes I made, the ones I'm quite ashamed of." He spoke in a defeated tone. "In the original timeline, all I did was hide like a coward. I did not meet Albestros, and neither did I go around acting as Azrael who punished criminals. Even after learning the truth, I did not avenge his children like you did. After reaching Rathna, I did not start some weapon company called Bloodborne, learn blacksmithing skills from Throck, or open a mercenary guild called Misthios. Unlike you, the first 6 years of my life were simply uneventful." He spoke and sighed. "I stayed in Flavit City for an entire year, then just 2 months while working as adventurer, thinking dungeon hunting was going to help me become incredibly powerful like some plot of a novel or manga. Even there, I barely took risks and delayed progressing to the final floor for an entire year, unlike you who did it in the first month. Although you ended up dying once and I saved you using my Abyss Sentinel form, you received Rathnar's core much faster." He elaborated. "After I moved to the capital, I acted as a hired soldier for those noble clans and was hardly making ends meet because of my hesitation to stand out, thinking that it would risk exposing my identity." He spoke in a hushed tone and continued with a tone full of pain, "And that was my biggest mistake in life." As the future Khan started recounting the actions of the original timeline and the impact they had on his life, the atmosphere inside the inner world turned serious. "I did not even participate in the Emperor's chosen competition and acted like a pawn of the noble clans until I became strong enough to show my skills. Hell, I was sent by the Nabi clan instead of the Vanderite clan in the Forbidden Zone to retrieve the Tablet of Arcana." He shed light on the events of the original life Khan lived. "After Rathnar told me what was about to happen to me, I fled the Rocco's empire. Unlike you, who became a first-stage saint in just 2 years, it took me 5 years to reach that rank because of my hesitation and cowardice. I was always severely lacking in resources despite doing my best, all because I did not take your approach of making it big or risking getting on the radar of powerful people of the Rocco's empire." He spoke with great regret. "I lived with the same mindset we had as Elric rather than changing myself for the better, taking risks and venturing into the unknown. I was simply too afraid to do that," he stated with a regretful voice. "Unlike you, I did not enter the immortal dungeon in the Elven Empire or undergo the trial of mind on the final floor where you met Master Vildred. I did not live through those memories of the past when we were bullied and did not accept that life. Unlike you, I was never able to accept the misfortune of my old life and move on from my trauma," explained future Khan, almost stopping in his words due to the heaviness he felt in his heart and mind. The atmosphere turned dead silent for a while as both Khans turned mute. One was contemplating the consequences of his choices and inaction and being unable to accept his past life and finally move on like the new version of himself. The other one also understood how different the future him was based on the kind of life he lived because of his own indecisiveness. If current Khan had not made bold moves that often risked his life, maybe his fate would be no different than the future Khan. Because of the decisions I ran away from, I ended up not becoming close to anyone in the early years. I didn't have anyone to protect. I did not have anyone I could call a friend. I didn't have any responsibilities as a leader, and I never opened up to anyone. Using the excuse that the world was my enemy because of my identity as hero of darkness, I created a small shell around me that protected me from the reality that I was simply looking for an easy way out. It took me meeting someone like Maximus, whose pain was many times greater than myself, to even acknowledge the fact that I was just a coward by saying that I shouldn't trust anyone. That I can't rely on anyone or I can do it all alone, said Future Khan with an incongruous countenance. But in reality, that was just me projecting my insecurities and hesitation on the outside world that actually had so much to offer and provide me with millions of possibilities and opportunities. Revealed Future Khan with a tone full of sorrow. He then looked at current Khan intently and spoke in a tone full of wisdom. Remember this, you don't have to do it all alone. You don't need to have all the answers and you don't need to be perfect. Don't be a narcissistic fool like me who thought relying on others, trusting and depending on them is a sign of weakness. Sometimes, things like love and heartbreak, trust and betrayal, strength and weakness are also necessary to forge your character. A great amount of fortitude and wisdom can also be achieved through your relationships with other people in the world. There is nothing glorious or rewarding about being a lone wolf or reaching the pinnacle of strength in the world. Declared Future Khan as a form of retrospective self-inspection. Because in the end, time is unforgiving to everyone and you will only end up with a pathetic death with no one to remember you. No one is affected by your legacy and no one will have fond memories of you if you walk the path of solace dictated by the past life's experiences like I have. Even at my peak of strength and being crowned as the martial emperor, after being worshipped, respected, and feared by billions of living beings in the world, I did not have a single person who loved me or deeply cared for me. I was surrounded by thousands of people, spoke Future Khan in a heavy and self-reflecting tone. Yet I was lonely, he declared with a heavy voice. Just remember that it's okay to have few people in your life whom you want to protect, feel responsible for, and also rely upon. Do not make the same mistakes I did. Spoke Future Khan as imparted his own life lesson to current Khan. Khan, on the other side, understood the words and the gravity of the situation. It seemed that, to the original Khan from the original timeline, the alternate future he lived in wasn't so kind to him. It took the future him to come back in time, set things in motion, and reroute his path through the divine abilities, blessings, and knowledge of the future to change his fate for the better. In the new timeline, having his subordinates like Omega, Rudra, Jugram, Blackwell, Ronan, Cyril, Oliver, and Armin allowed him to get beyond the lone wolf stage. Meeting people like Albestros, Cassandra, Rathnar, Vanessa, Throck, Vildred, and Romulus was the outcome caused due to ripples in the timeline based on his different decisions in the new timeline, which changed the course of his fate in this new life. But at the end of the day, both the future Khan and the current Khan were the same person, with different lives. After the future Khan, the martial emperor, revealed the reason he was ashamed to be associated with his original identity as Elric, mainly due to him not changing and nearly wasting his new life in the earlier years. Unlike the current Khan, the latter understood how starkly different their lives were despite being the same person. The future Khan spoke like a defeated man. Even after coming to Vantria, I did not change much from my old self as Elric. I was a loner even here and did not rely on others. This made things difficult for me, and instead of learning useful skills and crafts such as blacksmithing, artificing, magic, and combat techniques, I struggled to survive like every normal inhabitant of Vantria for the first 5 years, even with my divine abilities. Reading those mangas, novels, and watching those animes and movies did not help me in the long term, because you can't truly feel and experience everything by living a pseudo-life through your imagination. And I was in the constant cycle of struggle, failure, and betrayal by plenty of people. The first 10 years of my life were no different than hell even after I received support from that person as my backer. So do not expect this life to be like the one of some novel where there is a guaranteed happy ending. When you live through them by yourself, only then your real emotions and your personality will be revealed. Your reaction to circumstances, your ability to adapt and overcome challenges is tested, and your character as a person is revealed to yourself. He spoke somberly and gazed at Current Khan with eyes full of regrets. Remember this. He spoke in a stoic voice. The true measure of a man isn't what he reveals to the world, but what he hides from it. A sense of wisdom emanated from his words, something the Current Khan was unable to understand on his own. You have faced and overcome many difficulties and situations that I ran away from in the original timeline. You have questioned your own morality and ethics from time to time based on the circumstances and the perspective they provided you. Being pragmatic and rational in all situations, planning everything ahead sounds easy in stories only. But in the real world, it is the hardest thing to do, since even small insects and rodents are swayed by their emotions and instincts, much less a human like me with a traumatic past and trust issues. He revealed somberly. Throughout my life, I killed many who were deserving, but many more people died due to my inaction and cowardice. He spoke and then summoned an apparition of a woman in raven black battlemage clothes. Most importantly, I never met Cassandra Michelson during my time in Rocco's empire. Future Khan made another shocking revelation that confused Current Khan. How? Even if you didn't participate in the Emperor's chosen competition, you should have met her in the Forbidden Zone while retrieving the Tablet of Arcana and Rathnar's soul, spoke Current Khan with a befuddled countenance. Yes, that's how it should have happened. However, replied Future Khan as his voice turned heavy. In the original timeline, I never met Cassandra and only heard her name. She won the Emperor's chosen competition back then and became the sovereign of Verlassen instead of you. He revealed. She was a great leader and fought those legendary rank monsters that you and your subordinates killed in this timeline. But before she even entered the Forbidden Zone, she lost her powers for some reason and didn't enter like me. The reason, I don't know even now. And by the time I returned to Rocco's empire and became the Emperor, she had committed suicide many years ago. Revealed Future Khan in a serious tone. Gasp! Khan was shocked to his core after hearing this information. He could not grasp the fact that Cassandra did indeed commit suicide in the original timeline. Maybe unlike this timeline, there was no one by her side after losing her powers, and neither did someone try to stop her from that final step unlike Khan did in the current timeline. What do you think might have happened? Asked Khan with a serious expression. Could be anything. She might have lost her powers because of Caladrius monster like in this timeline. Or maybe her clan and her parents forced her to offer herself to some noble of a powerful clan just like they in this timeline when they forced her to offer herself to you. Responded Future Khan. Listen, I want you to do right by her. Not only because you care for her, but by saving her you may as well have impacted this timeline even more in a positive way, that is, declared the martial emperor. What do you mean? Asked Khan in a puzzled tone. There were originally only 3 people with the ancient rank deity summoner class in the whole world in this era. One of them died at the hands of the demon emperor before the Great War even began. Even in this timeline, he should have already been killed, said Future Khan as he gazed at Cassandra's spectral apparition with a sense of resignation. And the second one was Cassandra, who died 3 years ago. However, she is still alive in this timeline. And the third remaining person with the deity summoner class, spoke Martial Emperor as he made a grand revelation, is one of the 4 sovereigns. The Future Khan dropped another big revelation from the original timeline. That person is also among the 2 strongest sovereigns of Vantria. Imagine how greatly Cassandra being alive would have affected the original timeline during the Great War. He asked. In this one, you have transitioned her soul to that of a chosen hero even if you didn't mean it to happen. And if she lives and becomes at least a 9th stage saint in this timeline, she might become one of the strongest allies in the Great War. Declared the Martial Emperor without any hesitation. So don't let her die no matter what. Don't make foolish and selfish decisions and go back to her as soon as you're done with the conclave of heroes and our benefactor, whom you will meet soon. Also, from here on, you need to stop running away from the matter of gods and your role as hero of darkness. The sooner you get involved in this timeline, the better for your own good. He advised. Why? Aren't there people looking for my divine key since I have 2 divine keys as well as 1 unawakened divine key from the 7th hero of nature? The moment I reveal myself to the world, they will send that so-called mysterious group to hunt me down. And the last time I heard from the Emperor Havi of the Vulcan Empire and Master Romulus, even an 8th stage saint would die when fighting against them. Spoke Current Khan and showed his concern. You are indeed correct. This was also the reason why I also hid myself in the original timeline even after the Conclave of Heroes. I met our benefactor more than 2 years later after it happened. However, spoke the martial emperor with a smug smile. Haven't you noticed it even now? He asked the current Khan in a confident tone. Noticed what? Asked Khan, confusion visible on his face. That including you, there are 4 apostles in your group alone. And if I'm not wrong, then Cravel must have convinced at least 2 or 3 more deities to turn some of your subordinates into their apostles at this point. He declared with an evil grin. What? What the hell are you talking about? Asked Khan, completely bewildered. Hey, do you think they sell the rights to become an apostle in an auction house? No, this is something I asked God of Darkness and Cravel to do after I planned for you to choose the ability absorption and synthesis divine ability in the new timeline. To find suitable deities and get their blessings for your future powerful subordinates based on their abilities, classes, and bloodlines. Revealed the martial emperor. Stunned. Khan was simply too stunned to even move a muscle or bat an eye. But his shock didn't last long as the future Khan decided to make another shocking revelation. Surprisingly, you even got acknowledged by Brocker and Eitri. Those stubborn dwarves wouldn't even look at the heroes normally no matter how talented they were unless someone chose the progenitor of blacksmithing divine ability. On top of it, even Blackwell received their blessings and became their apostle with you. A being with primordial Titan bloodline given blessings and gifts from the deities of blacksmithing as their apostle. Do you have any idea what kind of divine treasure you're sitting on? He revealed and asked Current Khan in a mocking tone. I won't get into details. Just make sure that you find all the other descendants of the primordial titans with different elements and merge them with Blackwell. Because he is the only one among all of your subordinates. Spoke the martial emperor with a satisfied tone. Who can receive the gift I brought from the future? Declared Khan, and soon a dark magical formation appeared beside him. Boom! Soon, a 2-meter-tall black figure arose, and revealed a strong aura of darkness that even pressured the current Khan. Nay, tap. Easy there, boy, easy, spoke martial emperor as he got up from his chair and caressed the new arrival's neck. This is my horse, said future Khan, and introduced this majestic beast with 2 wide feathery wings that resembled a horse. Sleipnir,